Even so, so be it. Even so, so be it. Elder of inner house, outer door presbyter. Mother *K. I refuse to believe that a dignified forebrain genius like me won't be able to survive in ancient antiquity. Just you wait. Wait for lousy to trample all these people under my feet. I want to see who dares to oppose us. Bailey Tianhai said angrily. He complained as he worked. He was always toying with others in the sea city, but to be targeted in the ancient antiquity, he was very unhappy. Long Fei said, I already told you not to stick your head out, but you just wouldn't listen. Bailey Tianhai said, Big brother, us 3 brothers have come to ancient antiquity together. You guys can't enter the inner sect. What's the point in me going in alone? I just don't like them. An inner court disciple is extraordinary. Elder of inner house is impressive. I don't believe that I, Bailey Tianhai, cannot handle them. Having sworn brothers meant that they were brothers. Bailey Tianhai was only one friend in the sea city, and now that there was one more Long Fei, he was very concerned about this brotherly relationship. Long Fei felt the same way in his heart. No one would choose to give up on entering the inner sect and suffer with them in the outer sect. Inner court was equivalent to reaching the heavens in one step. In the outer sect, not only did they have to look at others' faces, they had to receive all sorts of unfair treatment. It was also extremely difficult for them to enter the inner sect. This was what a true brother should be like. Bailey Tianhai muttered, What a pity. Senior sister Liu, wait for me. I will definitely enter the Sword Elf Mountain. I will definitely chase you down. Her eyes were filled with infatuation. Phoenix pouted and said, She is a woman my husband has his eyes on. You cannot touch her. Bailey Tianhai said, Although we are brothers, this woman is fair in terms of competition. I will not let you, ha ha ha. You idiot, if it was you, would you let me? Zhao Dahan scratched his head, saying, Me doesn't know. Ha ha ha. Everyone laughed. Long Fei also laughed. This was a good life. The 3 of them tidied up the house after an entire afternoon. It was very shabby, but at least right now, it looked like a house by itself. The 3 of them sat on the steps. All of them were covered in filth. Phoenix held onto Long Fei's shoulder and gave him a massage. Her small hands squeezed just right, and it felt very comfortable. Long Fei had a face full of enjoyment as he said, We've settled in, now we're planning on how to survive in the outer sect. The outer court test wasn't held immediately. It happened once a year as well, and only those with sufficient points were qualified to participate. For example, not only did Long Fei and the other 2 offend the Elder of Inner House, they even got 0 points, so they didn't have the qualifications to participate. Bailey Tianhai said, Yesterday, I heard from Elder Yang that the time of the examination was 3 months, but if one wants to participate, they must have at least 300 sect points to register. 300 points is not a small number. His task credit is incredibly small, and he even has to do missions for the sect for free. It's impossible to gather all 300 points without spending more than half a year. And this is even with the victory of the mission. No more than 100 senior brother S in the entire outer sect possess 300 points. They have all accumulated for a year or even a few years. If one wanted to take the exam, one had to have 300 sect points. Furthermore, these were only registration points. Once they were registered, they would be deducted immediately and would not be returned. There was only one way to obtain sect points, and that was to complete missions. Completing the mission would grant you points, and the harder the mission, the more points you would get. Long Fei said, 3 months, 900 points. Zhao Dahan scratched his head, Big brother, second brother, you guys enter the inner sect. I will be fine later. Long Fei immediately said, What are you saying, us 3 brothers will enter together. Bailey Tianhai replied, That's right, you are not my servant, and even more so not my subordinate. You are my brother now, understand? Zhao Dahan giggled. Long Fei said, We must definitely participate in the assessment, but we must quickly become stronger within the next 3 months. Bailey Tianhai's gaze tightened, and said, I want to become strong. No matter how sharp your brain is, you won't be able to withstand a punch. Today, I finally understand. Strength is everything. Only having brains and no martial arts is still nothing but trash. In the past, I did not care much in the Sea City, and my cultivation was not high either. No one could play with me, but I understand now in the ancient antiquity. Not only Bailey Tianhai, Zhao Dahan too, clenched his fists tightly. Someone had discovered his hood door, and it was impossible to defend against it. This meant that he was still not strong enough. Long Fei said, "Before we charge into the inner sect, we must make ourselves strong enough to begin planning our training from tomorrow onwards. If you wish to complete the sect mission, you must not fall behind in your training. The three of us will take turns. Every day, 2 people will come out with a mission, and 1 person will stay behind to cultivate. This way, I can buy more time." Bailey Tianhai said, "Sure, I will write out the cultivation strategy first tonight. Just follow my instructions and cultivate, it will be much faster than normal." He eats with his head. He had never been serious before, but this time. To break through to the inner court in 3 months was simply impossible. The more difficult it was, the more serious Bailey Tianhai became. Although his cultivation was not high, he had done a lot of research on cultivation. He knew how to maximize the amount of energy that he could absorb. Phoenix giggled and said, I will be in charge of washing and cooking for you, cleaning the courtyard, and being in charge of your logistics." Bailey Tianhai laughed. "How virtuous." Phoenix laughed. Long Fei also laughed. For the time being, there shouldn't be any danger here, and Phoenix is safer here. Moreover, those black-clothed men would never have thought that Phoenix had actually entered the ancient antiquity. Gu. Gulp. When it came to cooking, Phoenix's stomach growled uncontrollably. She covered her stomach with one hand and said, "I'm so hungry." At this moment, Zhao Dahan's stomach also rumbled as he laughed awkwardly. "I'm hungry too." Gulp. Bailey Tianhai grinned and said, "I do have some, I haven't eaten anything in a few days." Gulp. Long Fei's stomach also rumbled, and he said, "Ha ha ha. This time it's my stomach." Ha ha ha. The 4 of them burst out laughing at the same time. He was laughing very happily. Long Fei had not laughed so happily in a long time either. Not far away, a few outer sect disciples stood on top of a pavilion and looked at Long Fei's small courtyard. Senior brother Ma, that's them. Senior brother Lin Yuan said to make it difficult for the outer sect disciples to move an inch. The leader of the group was a tall man. His muscles bulged beneath his robes like chunks of stone. His eyes narrowed slightly as he laughed coldly. "Just the few of them? It's too simple." Night fell. Night fell. Long Fei did not rest. He sat cross-legged as the idea entered the refined space. The time in refined space was very slow. There were only 10 days inside and only 1 day outside. In terms of cultivation, this was like a holy artifact. Huff. The 8th stage of Apprentice. 2 more levels before triggering the system's instance dungeon. If only I had holy source stones. Training is much faster. Long Fei muttered in his heart, but did not think much further, and entered the sword sect space to cultivate. The apprentice realm mainly focused on body refinement. With the body as the center, the best way to temper the body was to continuously temper it and squeeze out its potential. Only by letting this potential erupt would one be able to break through. In the space, Long Fei kept pushing himself. The refined space was very sharp. There were all kinds of equipment, and they would appear whenever Long Fei wanted to. Carrying the barbell on his body, Long Fei squatted and jumped while sitting on the frog. At the same time, his body was still absorbing the spirit energy from the training space. As he refined his body, he also led the spirit. After an hour, Long Fei did not rest for even a second. He was continuously pressing himself down. 4 hours passed. 6 hours passed. Long Fei used all his might to beat himself up. Boom. 5 hours later, it was as if a gate had been opened within his body. Immediately, he felt his body become much lighter and lighter. His strength increased. The holy source in his body suddenly became rich. Huff. Long Fei let out a deep breath, and the system chimed in. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Currently at the 9th stage of apprentice. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the upgrade reward, a 2nd grade Holy Source Stone. Every time they leveled up, there would be a reward. The higher the level, the better the reward. Long Fei looked at the 2nd stage Holy Source Stone and became excited. The reward this time is pretty good, it's actually a Holy Source Stone. I just happen to be in need of it right now. At this moment, Phoenix walked out of her room and saw Long Fei cultivating. She muttered to herself, "Hubby, I'm so hungry. My husband is training so hard, I have to find some food for him." Their cultivation bases were still not high enough, far from reaching the level of fasting, and they still needed food to replenish their strength. Long Fei opened his eyes, looked at the Phoenix and asked, "Are you hungry?" Phoenix was stunned. She asked, "Hubby, did I disturb your training?" Long Fei laughed. "No, I just finished training." He stood up. Although he had leveled up, and his health point and holy sources were all full, his body needed to replenish its energy. There was no food in his stomach. Phoenix nodded and said, "Yes, I'm hungry. My stomach hurts." Long Fei scratched her nose and said, "Let's go, I'll bring you to eat delicious food." Phoenix muttered, "We don't have money. Hubby, how about I?" Without waiting for her to finish speaking, Long Fei immediately said, "No." "Oh." Phoenix lowered her head and pouted. She felt useless. She clearly had a lot of holy source stones on her body, and it was of a rare quality, 10,000 times better than normal holy source stones. They couldn't do anything for Long Fei and the others. Long Fei smiled slightly, took out the 2nd grade holy source stone rewarded by the system, and said, "I'm rich. I'll take you to eat something delicious." This was originally used by him to attack the swordsman rank. However, no matter how precious holy source stones were, they were not as precious as Phoenix. The Phoenix looked at the holy source stone in Long Fei's hands and asked, "You, how did you get the holy source stone?" Long Fei laughed, "I hid it." Phoenix said, "I'll go call them." Long Fei said, "They shouldn't be sleeping just because they are cultivating. The things that happened today are rather tiring, it's good that we packed them up." Bailey Tianhai looked like he did not care, as everything depended on his brain. This was not the case. Long Fei could tell that Bailey Tianhai was extremely hardworking. Even if he was a genius, even if his mind was developed, he had actually put in a great deal of effort to make others look relaxed. Zhao Dahan was even more so. Every time he saw Zhao Dahan, he would think of the King Kong Li Yuanba and the kind of thing that would force him to death. 8 King Kong. I wonder where you are. Long Fei looked at the stars in the sky, pulled the Phoenix and said, "Let's go." Long Fei and Phoenix had just left the courtyard. Someone immediately reported from the pavilion. Ma Dongchao put down the wine cup, opened his mouth, and said, "You're out? 2 have already been sent out." Ma Dongchao laughed. "All right, let me know after we determine their seats." The inner disciples of the ancient antiquity were divided into 7 peaks. 10,000 miles away. However, in the outer court, it was at the foot of the mountain range and it was like a huge city. Everything here. There were even more markets and shops in the city. Of course, there were also midnight snacks. The outer sect doors never closed, because many disciples went on missions at night, and many people came back at night. Whether they went out or came back, many people liked to drink a cup and fill their stomachs. On the road to the outer sect, there were many pedestrians, and on their chests, there were many ancient antiquity disciples. Even in the middle of the night, there were quite a few people. This surprised Long Fei. Seems like there are quite a few people in the outer sect. Phoenix sniffed the air and said, "Roast meat. It's the fragrance of meat. Hubby, there's meat in front." Long Fei watched in a daze. If the surrounding buildings weren't ancient, he really would have thought that he had come back here, exactly like the night market on Earth in his previous life. "Senior brother, do you want to eat something? We have grilled beast meat here, as well as fresh demon beast meat. All of it has blood on it, so it's a great supplement. Senior brother, my roasted meat is tier 2 demon beast. It's even more nourishing. I still have a 3rd grade demon beast here." All the food in the roadside stall consisted mainly of barbecue. There was another way to eat it raw, which was even more expensive. This was because the demon beast meat had to be eaten raw not long ago, otherwise the profound chi in the flesh would run out. Furthermore, it was extremely hard to swallow, and there was no nutrition. However, the price of raw food was much higher. Look, it's a rank 3 scarlet fox. Wow, they actually managed to capture a grade 3 scarlet fox infant alive. It's a 3rd rank demon beast. It's a young beast again. It's a great tonic. I offer 10 holy source stones. Not far away, a barbecue stall took out a special kind of cage. Inside the cage was a crimson-red fox cub. It was extremely scared as it circled around the cage and let out a series of frightened cries. The phoenix, who was initially choosing meat, immediately attracted the attention of everyone as it pulled Long Fei and squeezed forward. A level 3 scarlet fox is a cub, but its profound chi is the richest in the entire life of a scarlet fox. A level 3 scarlet fox is a cub, but its profound chi is the richest in the entire life of a scarlet fox. It can be said that it's comparable to a great tonifying pill. It can't be better for someone to break through their bottleneck. The highest bidder has it, he can provide a way to slaughter it. I guarantee that spirit blood won't waste a single drop. The cultivation of demon beast was much slower than a human's. Breaking through a single level of demon beast would take decades, or even 100 years. Therefore, the bodies of demi-humans were much stronger than humans. If they were on the same level, then the demi-humans would completely crush the humans. Their flesh and blood could provide a large amount of profound chi, which was a great supplement for cultivators. This kind of natural 3rd-grade demon beast was even more outrageous. With a demon beast like the scarlet fox, who had both intelligence and attack, it was even harder to come by. I bid 20 holy source stones. I bid 40 pills. 50 pills for me. As the price continued to rise, many people wanted this scarlet fox. That young red fox seemed to know that people were fighting over him. Her curled-up body was shivering, and she looked extremely pitiful. Phoenix squeezed her way in and saw that the big red fox was immediately attracted. So cute. Squatting down and looking at the little fox in the cage, she directly asked, "How did you get caught?" The little fox looked at Phoenix and its mouth twitched. Phoenix said, "Your parents have also been hunted down?" So pitiful. Phoenix looked at Long Fei and said, "Hubby, she's so pitiful. Father and mother are both dead, she's the only one left." She was a phoenix. King of birds, peak divine beast. She was in human form now, but she could understand the words of the demon beast the same. Long Fei did not find it strange either, and asked, "Do you like her?" Phoenix nodded and said, I like it, I like it." Long Fei did not think too much about it. He took out a 2nd-grade holy source stone and said, "A 2nd-grade holy source stone." As soon as he finished speaking, immediately, the audience fell silent. They all looked at Long Fei. A 2nd-grade holy source stone, compared to the grade 1 holy source stone, contained a much thicker holy source. Grade 2 holy source stones could be exchanged for 100 grade 1 holy source stones. Moreover, unless they needed it, no one would be able to exchange it. Is this person stupid? A 3rd-grade scarlet fox is worth at most 71st-grade holy source stones, and he actually directly bid a 2nd-grade holy source stone? I think he must have a screw loose. This is crazy. The surrounding people started to discuss, all laughing at Long Fei's idiocy. Of course. They did not understand that as long as the phoenix liked it, he would find a way to get it even if it was the stars in the sky. Because he felt that he owed Phoenix in his previous life. The man looked at the 2nd-grade holy source stone in Long Fei's hands and immediately became excited. 1 2nd-grade holy source stone, is there a higher price? Are there any more bids? Phoenix crouched down and said, "Don't be afraid, my husband will save you." The little fox looked at Long Fei. She was still trembling a little. She only felt hatred towards humans. If she could, she wanted to kill all the humans in the world. "Brother, this grade 3 scarlet fox is yours." The man took the 2nd-grade holy source stone from Long Fei's hand and said excitedly, "You want to sell it to me right now? Or keep it for yourself?" Phoenix had already opened the cage. She giggled and said, "We'll keep it for ourselves." He hugged the scarlet fox and ran out while chuckling. Long Fei laughed, and followed. If you buy the scarlet fox, you won't have the money to buy food. I'm not hungry anymore, hey. Phoenix caressed the little fox and walked towards the forest at the side. Long Fei followed him from behind. Seeing Long Fei and Phoenix leaving, the few people in the crowd looked at each other and nodded. He silently followed them. The two walked to the edge of the forest and Phoenix put down the scarlet fox. She said, "Let's go. We need to go far away. Don't let the humans catch us again." The little fox looked at Phoenix with eyes filled with emotions. Phoenix smiled and said, "If you want to thank my husband, then thank him. He is the one who will help you. Remember to hide from me in the future. Go." The little fox looked at Long Fei, then bent its body towards Phoenix and entered the forest. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared without a trace. Phoenix turned around and looked at Long Fei, and said, "Hubby, I'm sorry, causing you to starve with me, but she's really pitiful." Long Fei replied, "It's fine, I'm not very hungry anyway." "Was she bowing to you at the end?" Phoenix smiled and said, "Millimeter, she's thanking me. Furthermore, she said that she will repay us. I told her to hide far away." Long Fei did not understand the beast language, nor did he know what he had said. He was not interested either. Right now, he was thinking about how he could find something to eat for Phoenix. At this moment, Long Fei's eyes tensed up, his eyes looked towards the darkness. "Come out." Phoenix was stunned. At this time, 4 people walked out of the darkness. "Your cultivation isn't high, so your ability to sense is pretty good. I didn't expect the grade 3 scarlet fox that I just bought would be let go like this." "Brat, you're really willing." "That's true, you immediately took out a 2nd grade holy source stone. You sure are generous. I presume you still have quite a few 2nd grade holy source stones on you." The few men smirked, with knives in their hands, they surrounded Long Fei. The leading man said, "Brat, take out all the holy source stones you have on you. Don't say that I didn't give you a chance, don't play any tricks, otherwise. Your cultivation is not even at the 9th stage of apprentice." Disdain was written all over his face. Their cultivation levels were all in the sword faction's realm. Crushing apprentices' cultivation? It was too easy. Long Fei smiled faintly, and said, "Are you robbing here? Don't the ancient antiquity have any laws?" "Ha ha ha. Laws? We are the law. I can tell that you are our new junior brother. Are you going to fight with us in the middle of the night? I'm going to fucking laugh. Hurry up and take out the holy source stone, reduce the pain." The moment the aura of the person speaking moved, it immediately formed an oppressive aura that pressed down on him. Long Fei's brows sank, and he looked at the Phoenix. "Are you hungry? Want some barbecue?" Phoenix swallowed her saliva and said, "We don't have money." Long Fei looked at them and said, "They should have one. Right. You guys should have holy source stones, right?" The leader's gaze tightened. "Brat, I think your skin is really itchy. Brother, move." Before he finished speaking, Long Fei moved, ancient dragon body. The atmosphere turned heavy. Super power boxing, sweep, boom, bang, bang, bang. A few seconds later, the 4 of them lay prone on the ground, their bodies twitching. Long Fei squatted and said, "Am I the law now? Is this your skin itch? Brat, take out the holy source stones you have on you. If not, I will let you see my king's law that is even more tyrannical. Do you believe me?" The barbecue is so delicious. The barbecue is so delicious. If there were barbecue every day, I would be so happy. At the barbecue stall, Phoenix was munching on meat with a blissful expression on her face. Basically, he had already given her the roast meat, so Long Fei stood at her side and watched her eat, looking extremely cute as he smiled. "Slow down, it's not like there's anyone who's fighting with you. Senior brother, give us another 50 strings." "Yes, immediately." The owner senior brother was grinning from ear to ear. Long Fei ate a piece and chewed it a few times, then said, "It's average, not good enough to taste, and not hot enough. It was just ordinary barbecue." However, the business here was surprisingly good, and the people eating there all had a satisfied expression on their faces, as if it was the most delicious food in the world. might not have thought much of this place, but to others, this place might be the most delicious food in the entire outer sect. Every world has something to focus on. Other worlds focused on the martial arts training, for technology, for cooking, and for making clothes. They were all very casual. There were not many people who would spend their time on them. In Long Fei's eyes, the taste of the roast meat was average, but in their eyes, it was top quality. Business is booming. If I were to open a barbecue shop here, wouldn't it explode to the heavens? Long Fei smiled confidently. He wasn't sure about anything else, but he was confident about roasting meat. Moreover, he was in need of money. I really need the holy source stone to cultivate. The 4 people that were robbed just now were also poor people. They only had 3 holy source stones on them, so after being eaten by the phoenix, they were probably close to the mark. Very soon, 50 kebabs of grilled meat were sent over, plus 5. You guys have consumed quite a bit. These 5 are free gifts. Long Fei asked, "Thank you, senior brother." Senior brother, I would like to ask, do you need any formalities to set up a stall here? The boss looked at Long Fei and wiped his hands that were covered with stains with his pocket and said, "Just go to the General Affairs Department to apply for a bit. There's nothing else, it's just that I need to find the source of the demon beast. The higher the grade, the more popular it is. If it's a real one, then that's even better. Fresh meat is more nutritious, after all. Junior brother, are you lacking holy source stones?" Long Fei looked at Phoenix and laughed. With a glutton like her, how could I not be short on money? Phoenix looked up and giggled at Long Fei. "Hey." Long Fei said, "Senior brother, how much can you guys earn in one night?" The owner said, "I can't earn much, so I will just earn myself a living. At my age, leaving the ancient antiquity is impossible, and once I leave our hometown, it will be disastrous. I can only stay here and wait for death. In order to maintain my identity as a disciple of the ancient antiquity, I can only do this." There was a hint of dejection in his eyes. He would probably waste most of his life here. Who in the family would have thought that he was roasting meat here? Life is like this. Many people lived for others, for that glory. Many people couldn't let it go because there were too many restrictions. The shop owner regained his composure and smiled. "Seeing how unfamiliar you are, you must be a new junior brother. The profits from roasting meat are not bad, but if we can't make money, we are helpless. We don't want to leave this place, so we should focus on cultivation. Only by becoming stronger can I obtain what I want." Long Fei said, "Thank you, senior brother." The boss innocently smiled and said, "Have a good meal, both of you." Then he walked away. "Life isn't easy," Long Fei said indifferently. Phoenix raised her head again and asked, "Hubby, what are you saying?" There was not much left of the 50 kebabs in front of her. Long Fei looked at the greasy phoenix that filled his mouth, and asked, "How can your small stomach be so edible?" "Hee hee." Phoenix cutely smiled. "With a foodie like him, I really have to make more money." Long Fei sighed in his heart. All 3 holy source stones had been used up. In the end, he wrapped up some roasted meat and brought it back to 100 Miles City and Jiao Dahan. He also asked the owner for some salt and spices. On the way back to the courtyard, Phoenix had a contented look on her face. "I'm so full. If I had barbecued meat every day, I would be so happy." Phoenix's face was filled with satisfaction as she stroked her round belly. Long Fei said, "Is that enough?" Phoenix replied, "Ien, I also need husband to accompany me." Long Fei stroked the back of the phoenix's head. "You little fool." On the way, Long Fei thought about surviving in the ancient antiquity. He had to break through the swordsman rank as soon as possible. Breaking through required holy source stones, as well as spirit stones. Earning money was of utmost importance. "It seems like it's time for me to show this world my culinary skills." Long Fei smiled slightly. He believed that with his culinary skills, he would surely be able to make a huge profit. Bang! Smash them all. "Brat, I'm telling you, this is Lao's territory. If you want to mess around in Lao's territory, then you have to pay the protection fee, do you understand?" In the yard. The courtyard that had been tidied up was now in a mess. A dozen disciples stood in the yard. Bailey Tianhai and Jiao Dahan were in a daze. They could not muster up any strength. After Long Fei left, Ma Dongqiao brought his men into the courtyard. Without saying a word, he smashed everything down, as if he was a bandit descending the mountain. Moreover, upon entering the room, he launched a sneak attack. Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan were both not in a hurry to react. These disciples' cultivations were all at the sword faction realm, far higher than the two of them. They also had sneak attacks, and in a single exchange they had suffered a crushing defeat. Bailey Tianhai said solemnly, "Payment of protection fees?" Ma Dongqiao sneered, walked in front of Bailey Tianhai and said, "That's right." Luo Yuan shouted, "Do you know who's the boss of this street? If you want to stay here, you have to call it protection fee, or else I'll beat you up every time I see you, understand?" New guy. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Everyone in the yard laughed. Bailey Tianhai said, give up, this must be done. How can I not give up the protection fee on Brother Chao's territory? But we didn't have any money on us when we first came to the ancient antiquity. How about this, 3 days later, and we pay 3 days later? If they faced each other head-on, the two of them would surely suffer a loss. Not a match for them. A wise man does not fight when the odds are against him. When the winds and clouds rise up again, I will definitely stain half the sky with my blood. Ma Dongqiao squatted down and looked at Bailey Tianhai. His palm slapped Bailey Tianhai's face. Pay in 3 days? No problem. However, I won't be able to protect you in these 3 days. As soon as he finished, Ma Dongqiao suddenly got up, and with a heavy kick, he shouted, "Hit him. You dare to come here in front of me, Ma Dongqiao, you're courting death." Ma Dongqiao said fiercely. The 10 over lackeys quickly rushed up and began to punch and kick Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan. Bang, bang, bang. Not long after, both of them were badly injured with blood hanging from the corner of their mouths. Ma Dongqiao sneered, and said, "Listen up, if you don't pay tomorrow, you can come fight again tomorrow. Brothers, let's go." Ma Dongqiao walked away. Ma Dongqiao walked away. "Brother Chao, why didn't you kill them? With senior brother Lin protecting me, what do I have to be afraid of?" Ma Dongqiao disdainfully said, "You don't understand shit. Killing them all at once is not fun. What should happen to monkeys? Only by playing it slowly will it be interesting. Let's do it today, let's do it tomorrow and make him go crazy. Isn't this more fun? Ha ha ha." Killing someone to sever their heart, this was the highest realm. However, Ma Dongqiao was not an idiot. He was Lin Yuan's little brother, but he had his own brains too. A punch or a few kicks wouldn't have made much of a difference, even if he was crippled. However, once a person died, it would be different. The outer sect would definitely investigate. For Lin Yuan to be able to kill the disciple examiner in front of so many elder of inner house, he could at least be able to shirk responsibility and kill. Most importantly, he didn't get any benefits at the moment. How could he do that? Naturally, they would not so easily eliminate Bailey Tianhai and the others. Jiao, Brother Chao is awesome. This is what senior brother Lin wants. Ha ha ha. The group disappeared into the night. Half an hour later, Long Fei walked into the courtyard with Phoenix. Phoenix brought the roast meat and skipped into the courtyard. She said, "Eat the roast meat." But as soon as he realized the situation was not right, his eyes narrowed. Who is this? Long Fei's eyes also darkened. They immediately entered the hall, and laughed bitterly when they saw that Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan had truly cleaned up and broken things on the floor. Seeing the two of them with bruises all over and their bodies covered in blood, Long Fei was inwardly enraged, and asked, "Who is it?" Bailey Tianhai laughed innocently, and said, "About that, I was just a little unable to control myself after sparring with Big Sis, and ended up like this." Zhao Dehan nodded his head. "We are all too angry." Long Fei said, "Do you two think I'm a fool? Is that Lin Yuan? Or the elder of the inner sect's Sword Elf Mountainess?" Bailey Tianhai said, "No, it's not them. We really couldn't defend ourselves in a spar and ended up like this." They didn't want Long Fei to find trouble with them. Although Long Fei's power was very strong, being in ancient antiquity, the water in this place was very dense. It might be okay if someone bullied you, but once you attack someone else, something would happen. They don't know what's going on here yet. They did not want Long Fei to force himself to stand up for them. Zhao Dahan said, "Big brother, we are really fine, it's just some flesh wounds." The two of them were extremely unhappy. But no one else was stronger than him. Even if he broke his teeth, he could only swallow it down to his stomach. Long Fei clenched his fists tightly and said, "All right, do you still take me as your brother?" Bailey Tianhai said, "Big brother, we are really fine. Today we have been set up by someone, we will definitely get back at them." Bailey Tianhai was not the type of person who liked to find people to help. If he did not take revenge, then he was not Bailey Tianhai. Long Fei did not speak further. This matter wasn't over. Phoenix said, "Let's eat some barbecue first. This barbecue is really delicious. You must be too hungry, so you ended up being scammed. If you're full, we'll beat you back." Bailey Tianhai laughed. "You're right. Big brother, you really don't have to worry. You still don't know who we are. Today, we're going to have sex. Tomorrow, I'm going to have sex with his family." He took the piece of grilled meat and stuffed it into his mouth, oil dripping out of his mouth as he laughed. "It's so fragrant, it's really delicious." Long Fei looked at Bailey Tianhai and did not say a word. Bailey Tianhai had never been at a disadvantage in the Sea City. He had been set up on the very first day he came to ancient antiquity, and he would never give up on this kind of attitude. However, even if his forebrain genius was deceived, he would not be injured to such an extent. There was only one possibility, and that was that his opponents had the advantage of numbers, and their cultivations were all above theirs. Long Fei did not speak further. "It's fine if you just clean up, but rest early. You still need to report tomorrow and you still have a mission to complete." Bailey Tianhai nodded and said, "Big brother, since we're injured like this, we won't be going to register tomorrow. Just report it to us, it's just a name anyway. The two of us are at home." Long Fei replied, "Amen," and then Long Fei did not stay, and walked to his own room, and without delay, sat down cross-legged, and the idea entered the refined space. It had only been the first day and he had already encountered so many things. They had been targeted by the inner sect disciples and the elder of inner house S. Now, even an outer sect disciple was riding on their heads to pee and shit. How could he King tolerate this? He knew what Bailey Tianhai was thinking. Long Fei also clearly knew what he had to do now. Breakthrough. Upgrade. After entering the refined space, Long Fei had refined himself to the point of death. Other people might have cycles of cultivation, but he didn't have any cycles at all. He just continued to cultivate and didn't even consider himself as a person. To be refined to the death. It was like a piece of red-hot iron that was being continuously hammered by thousands of hammers. He was like this now. As his body was being tempered, the spirit energy in his body was being nourished and circulating unceasingly. His physical body grew stronger bit by bit. 2 hours. 4 hours. 10 hours. 40 hours. Rumble. Long Fei's body released a loud explosion. It was as if a large door had been pushed open from the inside. As the light shone upon the body, an indescribable feeling of comfort spread throughout his entire body. Strength increase. Speed increased. All of Long Fei's attributes had been increased by a lot. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Current level, Swordsman first rank. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. The reward is the Golden Silk Soft Armor. Ding. Congratulations to the player Long Fei for breaking through the Swordsman rank, activating the Swordsman Dungeon, Brutal Sword. Several notifications sounded consecutively. This kind of feeling made Long Fei feel indescribably good no matter what. In the past, leveling up had involved killing people or gaining experience. It didn't feel good, but now that he had broken through it step by step, it felt more fulfilling. Gold Mail. Increases defense by 50%, fatal blow by 10%, and defense by 1%. Ding. Wear it. Long Fei moved. Go. She couldn't see it, but Long Fei could feel its existence. It was very gentle, like a piece of silk. His defense had obviously improved. The golden silk armor was not the main point. The main point was the instance dungeon reward given by the system. Tyrant Sword? What kind of instance dungeon is this? Long Fei opened the dungeon notification. Instance dungeon, tyrannical sword description. Enter the sword tomb to find the only sword available. Number of times, 1 description, failure. Extinction. If the dungeon disappears, there is a chance for additional rewards. It's that simple. Just find a usable sword. Long Fei was in disbelief. The first instance dungeon was the Berserk Beast. If he had not found the maps bug, he would not have been able to complete it. He did not believe that this violent sword dungeon was so simple. However, Long Fei decided not to linger. Enter. 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 Long Fei did not want to stay. Although he had not practiced the Berserk Beast sword art, which was rewarded from the Berserk Beast dungeon, the Berserk Beast sword technique was still very strong. The rewards of an instance dungeon would not be weak. They were only looking for a usable sword in the violent sword dungeon. It had to be a special sword, and it might even be the ancient world's holy artifact sword. Ding. Are you sure you want to enter the instance dungeon? Yes, sir. Ding. Counting down to enter the dungeon. 3, 2, 1. Suddenly, Long Fei's world suddenly changed. It became an unreachable mountain of swords, the entire mountain densely packed with swords. Over 1,000,000. Long Fei stood at the foot of the mountain, raised his head and muttered, "System, there is a sentence that your mother is criticizing. Do you think it's appropriate to say it?" Tens of thousands of Cow Nima's heads roared past in his heart. This is F*King Sword Tomb. Your grave is this big. This is King Sea of Swords, alright? Long Fei complained in his heart. The system had never let him down, not even once. Not only were there many swords, the shape of the swords were also very strange and varied. There was a great sword, 100 meters long. There was a broken sword. There were also small dagger-like swords. Countless. In the Mad Beast dungeon, he had been forced into an extremely miserable state. In the end, he had to jump off a cliff to end his own life before completing the quest. Looking at the mountain full of swords, Long Fei felt his scalp go numb. However, just like traveling, even if they came, what could they do? Even if it was shit, he still had to swallow it. Huff. Long Fei exhaled, looked at the peak of the sword mountain, and said, "Under normal circumstances, this kind of sword would always be at the top. This is usually the case in the game." Long Fei did not think too much about it. He directly stepped onto the sword mountain and went up to the peak. Looking at the few swords on top, he saw that they were very ordinary and did not have anything special about them. The swords around him did the same. They were all beads of dust, and you couldn't tell the difference between good and bad. Is this more and more a test of my IQ? Long Fei muttered. Seeing that all the swords were similar, not one of them had anything special about them. This was an instance dungeon. It was just like a game dungeon. He had always firmly believed that there was a bug in the game that could be found in any instance dungeon. In the Berserk Beast dungeon, there was definitely a bug in the violent sword dungeon. In that case, what is it? Long Fei thought, at the same time his chi was also continuously sensing, wanting to see if there was any sword aura, or a sword spirit that was different from the others. However, nothing. Long Fei gently gripped onto a sword hilt. He closed his eyes and thought, "Is that you?" The sword did not respond at all. However, Long Fei could feel an incomparable passion from the sword hilt, as though it was a sword of passion. Long Fei could even feel his blood boiling. He grabbed the other one. Sword of the Peak. The feeling of looking down on all the small mountains. This. Sword of Sorrow. Wild sword. Sword of Suicide. Grasping it in one go, Long Fei realized that each and every sword here had its own unique characteristics. They were happy, angry, sad, sick, old, ill, at the pinnacle of life, at a low valley, have all sorts of attributes: metal, wood, water, fire, earth, ice, wind, lightning, cloud. There were all of them, but none of them were repeated. At least Long Fei had held thousands of them with different attributes. Holy Sha*T. The swords here are truly extraordinary. Long Fei sighed. Although he tried to hold every sword, he couldn't pull it out. Pulling it out meant that he had made a choice. Once he made the wrong choice, he would fail the mission. Long Fei opened the instance dungeon. Find a sword that I can use. In other words, I need to find a sword that suits me. What kind of sword would that be? Every sword here seems to be of the divine rank. If any swords were placed outside, they would be heaven stage existences. I no longer need to worry about money. Long Fei secretly thought. If they were all holy artifacts, then these were definitely not swords that he could use. The system was not that simple. Long Fei locked the space between his brows. He slowly walked down from the peak of the mountain. Along the way, he also tried to sense the attributes of each sword. Strangely, the lower he went, the lower the attribute of the sword became, and the weaker it became. The more ordinary it became. The good swords are all on it. But those swords are definitely not suitable for me. System, damn you. You know very well that I can't stand the temptation, and I even have a bunch of holy artifact in front of me. What are you trying to do? Long Fei complained in his heart. Half an hour later, he once again returned to his starting point. Raising his head, he looked towards the sky, towards the tall mountain of swords. Phew. I'm just an ordinary person. It's just that I have an additional system. If I didn't have the system, I would still be a otaku from which planet? An extremely ordinary commoner. Perhaps everything about me changed due to transmigration. If I didn't transmigrate, I would still be at the starting point. So, Long Fei took a step forward, and a very ordinary sword pierced into the ground. This was the first sword. Long Fei held it up, and did not try to sense its attribute. Looking at the tall mountain of swords, he said, perhaps it is not as powerful or gorgeous as you guys, or perhaps it is not as tall or powerful as you guys, but here's what I want now. As soon as he finished, Long Fei pulled hard. When the sword was unearthed, Long Fei was lifted up into the air. The sword did not produce any changes, nor did it emit a boundless radiance. It also did not emit any sword chimes. It was just like an ordinary sword that was lifted up into the air. Nothing had changed. Everything was so calm. Huff. Long Fei secretly heaved a sigh of relief, and said to himself, could it be that I made the wrong choice? That shouldn't be the case. If it's a game dungeon, if it's not the top one, then it's definitely the first one. This is just a trap. Long Fei understood very clearly in his heart. He could not choose those divine swords. Just like the golden axe, the silver axe, or the iron axe. If he wanted to clear the instance dungeon, he could only choose the iron axe. Just when Long Fei suspected that he made a mistake, the entire sword-sect mountain suddenly shook. Rumble, rumble, rumble. A series of booms rang out. It was as if the world had collapsed. Long Fei's heart tensed up. Did you fail? Suddenly. Shua. A sword suddenly flew out. With a hum, it directly flew into Long Fei's normal human sword. Following that, it flew up again, transforming into a sword image that flew in. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The 1,000,000-strong sword rose up from the ground, forming a sword dragon, constantly rushing towards Long Fei's sword. The scene was extremely beautiful. Long Fei was shocked. At this moment, he knew that he had succeeded. Regardless of whether it was a sword, holy artifact, spirit weapon, or other powerful attributes, they all started from the ordinary people. The sword was the same as the man. Ding. System beep. Congratulations to player Long Fei for passing the Tyrant Sword Dungeon. Ding. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for passing the Tyrant Sword Dungeon. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Great Sword. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the mysterious reward. The system sounded out continuously. Long Fei heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. I made the right bet. Long Fei was betting all this, since losing meant losing the dungeon to him anyway. Although it was a big gamble, it was related to Long Fei's experience in games in his previous life. It seems like I played too many games and read too many novels in my previous life. Anime is also helpful. Long Fei laughed excitedly. He could not wait to open the system to have a look. Big sword. This name. I can only use one word to describe it. Hang. The name was too much. But Long Fei looked at its attribute and swallowed it down with a gulp as he muttered to himself, "Isn't this attribute a bit too abnormal?" Item: Big sword grade, king grade attributes, ice type, wood type, fire type, water attribution, earth type, metal type. Almighty attributes. Description: possesses the attribute of omnipotence. 1,000,000 sword spirits. Generally speaking, this sort of thing wouldn't have much of an effect in the game, so it didn't have any outstanding attributes. Each attribute had 1 point. This godly weapon was too weak. However, the attribute of this great sword was not 1%, but every single one of them was a 100% existence. In other words, it was a super holy artifact, an all-round super holy artifact. Just like its name, it was a great sword. This was the place where Long Fei was shocked. Looking at the great treasured sword in his hand that had returned to its normal state, he muttered to himself, "You are truly awesome." This was only the second instance dungeon of the swordsman rank, and he was already rewarded with a divine weapon. There were still many dungeons behind him. How could he not ascend to the heavens? Even if he didn't go up to heaven, he would have already seen a ghost. Moreover, there were 8 doors in refined space, and each path had a corresponding cultivation level. Long Fei was currently training with the sword, and his rank was a swordsman. When he started cultivating, it would be a new beginning. In other words, every time he broke through a new realm, there would be a special reward for instance dungeons. 8 gates. How many dungeons were there? Swordsmanship was godly. Strength training was also a godly ability. Alchemy, formation, beast, equipment. They were all god equipment, just like the great sword. They were omnidirectional and omnipotent god equipment. If he couldn't do this to the Emperor Xian, then Long Fei would just self-destruct. After inspecting the properties of the big sword, Long Fei looked at the mysterious reward. The reward was a box. Just like the boxes in the game, what was inside would depend on Long Fei's luck. Open the box. My luck has always been good. I don't need anything else, just give me a box of holy source stones. Long Fei rubbed his hands together and said excitedly, "I'm here." The idea moved and opened. The box opened, and a ray of light shot out. A crystal clear rock floated in the system interface, and appeared in Long Fei's mind. The system beeped. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the soul raw stone. As soon as he finished, Long Fei stood there like an idiot, not moving an inch. Looking at the ore in his mind, he was a little afraid of looking at its properties. Because soul rocks. He could not help but think of the infinite boxing S that had exterminated the hegemons, which was also the reward he got from the universal realm. The one that he could use the power of the ancient dragon body to summon his infinite boxing. Half the population of the universe is destroyed by a snap of the fingers. It didn't matter if you were a human or a god, whether you were a person of high status or a commoner of low status, there was no special exception, only equality and random death. With a snap of his fingers, everything was solved. One of the ores on the infinite boxing was the soul rocks. It was the soul rocks that he had sacrificed his beloved for. Is that it? Is it really it? My infinite boxing has it, all that's left is the ore. Am I going to walk the road of destruction too? If my spirit blood is able to travel through space in the small world, then is it that I possess another ore in my body? F***ck. I can't take it anymore. Long Fei was unable to control his excitement. If it was really the ore of the Women's Union, if it was really that powerful, then this world would have to lie prostrate at his feet. Furthermore, it was still trembling non-stop. An Empyrean god. Over god. Emperor. He was the king of a world, the lord of all realms. All of them had to kneel before this old man. Hoo. Long Fei's heartbeat could not help but accelerate. He was a little afraid of facing it, his heart felt like it was about to jump out of his chest. Item, Rocks level. Attribute. Soul type description. Besides the soul pet and its name, there was no other description and no power of any kind. Long Fei stared blankly. Damn, system, what do you mean by that? Do you want to go to heaven? Your father, took great pains to open her or, yet you actually dare to do this to me, you are too shameless. It was one thing if he didn't know the level. Even the description was a question mark. This. What kind of power was it? He had no idea. Wasn't this a scam? If the system was human, then he would definitely have been pressed down by Long Fei to the ground and ruthlessly rubbed against it. Damn it, system, you are awesome. Long Fei roared fiercely. He looked at the yellow crystal clear ore and thought, I do not care what type it is, when I summon the infinite boxing again, it will immediately be embedded inside, and there will be an attribute display, right? Long Fei calculated in his heart. Wasn't exterminating a tyrant directly placed into the groove of an infinite boxing? He could do it, and Long Fei could do it too. However, is this soul or the soul or of the movie world? I don't know. Then again, was the three types of universes the same as Long Fei's current universe? Can you also snap your fingers at a person who's half dead? I don't know. After all, one was the movie world, the other was Long Fei's real world. But no matter what, this soul ore was definitely an awesome item. Thinking of this, Long Fei's mood became good, and he said, an instance dungeon is awesome. The reward of one instance dungeon is two things, each one is like a piece of cake for the heavens. The drop rate was low, but the rewards for the instance dungeon were increased. This was also a change in the system. Alright, it should be around dawn by now. Long Fei calculated the time. The idea withdrew and came out of refined space. At this moment, it was already early in the morning. Long Fei stood up, both of his hands extended, his joints releasing explosive sounds, as he clenched his fists, and felt the power of the swordsman rank. This feeling was very refreshing. Hubby, wake up. Phoenix was like a little fairy as she jumped in front of Long Fei. Long Fei replied, he purposely raised his voice, I'll go register first, then I'll take a look at the mission. He brought Phoenix with him and walked out of the courtyard. Seeing Long Fei leave, Bailey Tianhai did not give it much thought as he immediately said, you idiot, get up. We need to make some preparations. Ma Dongqiao will come back today. Ma Dongqiao will come back today. He was ambushed yesterday, so no matter what, he had to get back at them. Bailey Tianhai shoved Long Fei aside because he did not want to involve Long Fei in the battle as well. Hearing Bailey Tianhai's voice, Zhao Dehan immediately walked out and clenched his fists tightly. The muscles on his body tensed up and he said, second brother, just tell me what to do. The corner of Bailey Tianhai's mouth curled up, and said, yesterday, he ambushed Laozi, and today, Laozi is here to ambush him as well. First we'll set up a few traps. Once we're hit, we'll just do it one at a time. I've always been the one bullying people since I was born, and no one has ever bullied me before. When Bailey Tianhai thought about what happened last night, he immediately got angry. If he didn't come back this time, then he would no longer have the last name of Bailey. They busied themselves. Junior brother Ma, senior brother Lin was very dissatisfied with your performance yesterday. Those two trash, especially that man called Bailey Tianhai, senior brother Lin, mean that they can't live, don't you know that? What did you do? You did a few punches and kicks, what are you doing? You completely do not put senior brother Lin's words in your eyes. Within a luxurious courtyard, a middle-aged man was seated on an armchair, his gaze was ice cold as he stared at Ma Dongqiao. Ma Dongqiao sat straight and upright, although this was his courtyard and all of them were his brothers, he did not dare to make a sound. This was because the person standing in front of him was one of the 10 great experts of the outer sect, the one ranked 9th, Sun Yong. His cultivation was far above Ma Dongqiao. An existence that could crush Ma Dongqiao. The most important thing was that Sun Yong was also an ancient ability, it was just that the degree of his inherent skill awakening wasn't high. This year, his cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds, entering the ranks of the top 10 experts. Now that he had a relationship with Lin Yuan, There was a high possibility that he could enter the inner sect for this year's inner sect examination. Ma Dongchao said again, "How would I dare to disobey senior brother Lin's orders? I just want to properly play with them, so that they cannot beg for death." Humph! Sun Yong coldly snorted, and said, "Ma Dongchao, others don't understand you, but how can I not understand? You are afraid that the outer sect's murderous forest senior brother will not protect you, right?" Ma Dongchao said, "I've never thought about it like that." That's what he thought. He only wanted to live a safe life in the outer sect. If he killed someone and Lin Yuan did not protect him, then at least he would be expelled from ancient antiquity. All right. There's no need to say any more. Lead the way. Sun Yong stood up. He did not want to chat anymore with Ma Dongchao. The reason he came in was simple. Even if we have to cripple Bailey Tianhai, even if he doesn't die, we will make him brainless for life. Four-brain genius. Before entering the inner sect and finding a backer, if he crippled his brain, he would become a waste. Ma Dongchao did not dare delay and immediately walked out of the courtyard. He shouted, "Didn't you hear senior brother Sun's words? Lead the way." The dozen or so disciples in the courtyard trembled in fear, then quickly rushed out of the courtyard. Zhao Dahan. Even if it was a 9th stage blood vein, its talent was average, and it posed no threat at all. As long as Lin Yuan was willing, he would never be able to enter the inner sect. As for Long Fei, just like Zhao Dahan, she did not pose any threat to him. The one who posed the biggest threat to Lin Yuan was Bailey Tianhai. Once four-brain genius was taken seriously, it would be terrifying. As long as Bailey Tianhai entered the inner sect, then it would basically be impossible to make a move against him. Thus, in the outer sect, Bailey Tianhai had to die. Even if he didn't die, his brain would be crippled. In the morning, bam! The gate was kicked away. The two broken doors were smashed into pieces, littering the courtyard. At this moment, Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dahan sat on the stone bench in the courtyard. When they saw the door to the courtyard be kicked away, both of their gazes tightened. Ma Dongchao was the first one to step into the courtyard. He didn't dare to delay any further in front of Sun Yong, because at that time, forget about Lin Yuan, he wouldn't even be able to handle a single Sun Yong. Bailey Tianhai sneered, and said, "Are you ready? Come and get it." Ma Dongchao walked in with large strides and shouted, "If you dare to lose half a head today, this father will wring out your head right now." Watching Ma Dongchao walk into the courtyard, Zhao Dahan slowly got up. Bailey Tianhai still sat, and didn't move. Suddenly, Ma Dongchao stopped and looked down. A trap? A thread as thin as a hair broke. Bam! A stream of power swept out, the thick wood directly collided into the center of Ma Dongchao's brows. Ma Dongchao's gaze darkened, as he said disdainfully, "You want to hurt me with such a childish trap? Brat, you're dead today." Seeing the wooden log exploding against him, Ma Dongchao was not afraid at all. This kind of attack was not even a threat to him. He pulled out his sword and slashed down. The sword chi sliced the wooden log into two. Just as Ma Dongchao was laughing mockingly, his back felt cold. At the same time as the wooden beam hit him, two thin steel nails stabbed into his back. The wooden beam was just a feint, it was the main attack. Ma Dongchao did not think too much and charged forward. His speed was extremely fast and he wanted to exceed the time the nails took to fly. It was also at this time. They were already preparing for Zhao Dahan to take a step forward. Boom! With a 3-meter-tall body and a body as solid as granite, the moment he took a step forward, his strength exploded. Bang, bang, bang. With steps like thunder, he rushed in front of Ma Dongchao, extended his right fist and swept it across. Bam! It directly landed on Ma Dongchao's chest. Phut! Ma Dongchao spat out a mouthful of blood, his chest felt like it was splitting apart, and his entire body flew out, striking the disciples behind him. 5 or 6 disciples were knocked back by the impact of his attack. Zhao Dahan was born with great strength, and with the power he had just accumulated, this punch was extremely ferocious. Ma Dongchao's face turned pale white, he stood up and swallowed a spirit pellet. Staring at Zhao Dahan, his eyes turned sinister as he asked, "Strength warrior?" Zhao Dahan smiled slightly, and said, Not bad, 7th stage of the Mighty Master realm. 7th rank Mighty Master, right? After the Ma Dongqiao pellet entered his body, his complexion turned better. With a smile, he said, "Go to hell." Boom. His aura exploded. It formed a suppressive force of the realm. Ma Dongqiao's figure moved, his footsteps transforming, the sword in his hand also changed, meteor sword technique. Sword in the sky. On the tip of the sword, points of light could be seen as powerful sword chi locked onto Zhao Dahan's entire body. Zhao Dahan felt as if he was trapped in a desperate situation. However, he wasn't worried. His discipline was stone, and his flesh was rough. Also, behind him was Bailey Tianhai. Bailey Tianhai looked at Ma Dongqiao's sword technique, and in less than 3 seconds, he said, "Big idiot, move 1 step to the left." 3 steps forward, boom. Zhao Dahan completely followed Bailey Tianhai's instructions and punched out. Bam! A fist smashed into Ma Dongqiao's nose, causing his blood to flow wildly as he continuously retreated backwards. Zhao Dahan laughed, looked at Ma Dongqiao, and hooked his finger, saying, "Come again." They were prepared for the ambush the previous night. Moreover, they were holding back their anger in their hearts. If they did not get back this opportunity, they would lose too much face for Sea City. They were prepared for the ambush the previous night. Moreover, they were holding back their anger in their hearts. If they did not get back this opportunity, they would lose too much face for Sea City. Zhao Dahan's strength, Bailey Tianhai's brain. With just a little bit of cooperation, even if his cultivation was weaker than Ma Dongqiao's, he would still be able to defeat her. 2 consecutive attacks, heavily injuring Ma Dongqiao. All of a sudden, the lackeys around Ma Dongqiao were a little dazed. Were these the 2 people they bullied yesterday? It was as if he was a completely different person. Ma Dongqiao wiped the blood off his nose. He was furious and stared at Bailey Tianhai. He knew how terrifying 4-brain genius was today. Although meteor sword technique was not a high-level sword technique, it was still considered above average in the outside world. With just a glance, he was able to find a way to break it within a few seconds. This brain was not a brain at all, it was just a supercomputer. Ma Dongqiao shouted, "Let's go together. Will the 4-brain genius count? Let me see how you calculate that. You guys deal with the big guy, I'll go cripple 4-brain genius." Ma Dongqiao replied heavily. He took a step forward. At the same time, those lackeys behind him also instantly rushed out. "Let's fight together. Let's see how you calculate that." The corners of Ma Dongqiao's eyes turned sinister. He believed that the world relied on strength in the end. No matter how sharp his brain was, a single punch had exploded. However, he had overlooked the power of his 4 brains. Zhao Dahan's body suddenly retreated, and instantly stood in front of Bailey Tianhai, blocking. His body sank slightly, and a burst of qi burst out. At this moment, he was like a mountain that stood in front of Bailey Tianhai. Bailey Tianhai smiled faintly and said, "1 step left." Boom. Zhao Dahan moved, and threw out a punch. Bam! One of the minions was directly sent flying. 1 step, 3 steps to the right, boom. Zhao Dahan did as he was told, throwing out a punch. Bam! Another minion was sent flying and landed on the ground. He couldn't get up at all. Take a step back and block this punch. Boom. Zhao Dahan did as he was told, his body sinking down as a fist punched at his chest. His body did not move at all, but that disciple's fist started to make explosive cracking sounds. It seemed like his joints had been dislocated. Zhao Dahan punched out. Bam! One of them did the calculations faster than lightning while the other did the same. All of a sudden. Bang, bang, bang. The minions who rushed up were all flung out, their movements, fist techniques, and sword techniques, were all seen through by Bailey Tianhai before they could even make a move. Decomposition, looking for flaws. Zhao Dahan punched out. The 2 of them perfectly coordinated. In just a few minutes, all of those over a dozen of minions were lying prone on the ground, leaving behind only Ma Dongqiao who had yet to ascend the stage. At this moment, his scalp was slightly numb. Was this a person? This is F** king like a ghost. The reaction speed of this brain was absolutely monstrous. His gaze shifted towards the motionless Sun Yong behind him. Sun Yong's gaze tightened, a bunch of useless trash. With a cold voice, and at this very instant, Sun Yong took a step forward. Shua. Her figure was like an illusion, and with a step, she appeared in front of Zhao Dahan. Zhao Dahan's gaze tensed up. Bailey Tianhai's face also darkened. He immediately shouted out, body sinking, defensive stance. However, too slow. Sun Yong said in a heavy voice, you're too slow. A fist turned into a palm, heavily smashing onto Zhao Dahan's chest. Zhao Dahan's body caved in as a stream of power shot out from his back, directly blowing away the clothes on his back. Blood sprayed out from his mouth as he was sent flying. Not waiting for him to fall, Sun Yong's figure moved again, landing in midair, jumping onto Zhao Dahan's body, stepping on top of his head, his body sinking, fall. Bailey Tianhai's pupils tightened as he shouted loudly, stupid. Rumble. Zhao Dahan's body fiercely descended, and heavily smashed into the ground. Half of his head directly sunk into the ground, leaving half of his head exposed. Blood gushed out. Zhao Dahan's body was also twitching. If it weren't for the fact that he had a granite discipline, his head would have burst open long ago. Sun Yong stepped heavily on Zhao Dahan's head, the corners of his mouth hooked up as he sneered, and said, don't you know how to calculate? Now, do you think I can trample him to death? He smiled coldly. Staring at Bailey Tianhai, he was full of playfulness. Bailey Tianhai clenched his fists, and said, what you want is my life, release him, and I will do whatever you want with him. Since he knew he was from the four-brain genius, then there was only one possibility. Lin Yuan's men. It could either be Qin Wancheng or the Sword Elf Mountain Elder, but the latter two were both from Elder of Inner House. There was no way to compete with an outer disciple like them, so there was only one possibility, Lin Yuan. Bailey Tianhai had thought about Lin Hai, but he didn't think that Sun Yong would appear. He thought it would still be Ma Dongchao's group from yesterday. However, when a stronger person appeared, he neglected this possibility. Sun Yong laughed. I'm afraid you won't be able to calculate it, right? Your life naturally won't be able to escape. Right now, I just want you to calculate whether or not I can stomp him to death, ha ha ha. Sun Yong was extremely pleased with himself. Bailey Tianhai stood up and said, my life is in your hands, release. Not waiting for him to finish, Sun Yong shouted, count me in. Bailey Tianhai's gaze tensed up. Zhao Dahan was on the verge of death and stepped on his head, making him unable to move. Bailey Tianhai was extremely worried. Sun Yong's strength had exceeded his expectations, and since Zhao Dahan was in such a state now, could he possibly unleash the potential within his body? Bailey Tianhai did not dare calculate. He could not calculate either. He could not take his brother's life as a joke. Not really. You don't count, I count. I calculate that he will die. The corner of Sun Yong's mouth curled up as he revealed a ghastly and cold smile. Then, he exerted strength in his legs and was about to heavily stomp on the ground. However, at this moment, a voice came from behind him. I'll count to 1. Sun Yong's gaze turned cold, his eyeballs turned, and he looked towards the entrance of the courtyard. Sensing the aura, he laughed coldly, a waste of the swordsman rank. When Ma Dongchao saw Long Fei, he also laughed in disdain. Even a trash like you dares to be disrespectful to senior brother Sun. Sun Yong no longer looked at Long Fei. He simply did not need to put a waste of swordsman rank in his eyes. The space between his eyebrows deepened, exerting force with his legs. At this moment, Long Fei moved his sword. Sun Yong still did not put her in his eyes. It was just that. In the next second, before he could even exert his strength, the space between his eyebrows tightened and his back felt cold. He felt a huge monster behind him. Zhong Xian's eyes narrowed. His reaction was also incomparably fast. At this time, he did not want to kill anyone, but rather wanted to protect himself. He suddenly retreated. He jumped a few dozen feet and landed on the ground. His pupils sank once again, because the feeling of being stared at by the enormous creature had not disappeared. The corners of his eyes twitched as he thrust his sword forward. Buzz. Clang. The long sword shattered. Starting from the center of his forehead, a thin line of blood flowed down. Sun Yong stood where he was before, his eyes opened extremely wide, and the bloody groove on his forehead opened up to the bottom with a whoosh. Once his HP fell, it would become 0. Once his HP fell, it would become 0. Sun Yong's body heavily sank down, and he kneeled onto the ground. His eyes stared straight at Long Fei, and then, with a bang, he fell to the ground. Ding! Congratulations to the player Long Fei for killing Sun Yong. Do you wish to absorb his cultivation? Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 1 second grade Holy Source Stone, 5 first grade Holy Source Stones. The system sounded out a few times. Long Fei did not bother about him, but walked to Zhao Dahan and helped him up. Third brother, are you alright? Zhao Dahan replied, Me, I'm fine. His entire body was injured, and his head was nearly stomped on until it exploded, not to mention that he was fine. Long Fei felt a burst of depression in his heart, and said while looking at Bailey Tianhai, Are the two of you still taking me as your big brother? Do you two still have me in your hearts? Why didn't you tell me such a big thing had happened? Have you forgotten our oaths from the beginning? If he had not been on guard, both Zhao Dahan and Bailey Tianhai would have died here. Bailey Tianhai's gaze darkened. Zhao Dahan muttered, Big brother, it's all my fault, I made second brother not tell you. Long Fei said, Don't talk. Bailey Tianhai stood up, lowered his head, and said, Boss, I thought I could take care of him. I didn't think that this guy would bring an even more powerful person today, if not. Long Fei said, So what? Even if you can handle it, you should at least tell me. Bailey Tianhai said, It's my fault. Next time, if there's anything, I'll definitely tell you. Long Fei also understood in his heart what he was thinking. It was because he did not want him to become embroiled in this conflict as well. This sort of thing was impossible to avoid. If anything happened to Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dahan, he would be the next. It was only because he did not display any talent during the selection that Ma Dongqiao and the others did not find him immediately. At this moment, Ma Dongqiao cowered and continuously retreated. Sun Yong had already been killed instantly, he could only wait to die. Moreover, that strike just now, too terrifying. The aura he felt was the same as Sun Yong's, as though a colossal monster was standing behind him and could rip him apart with a single strike. He didn't dare to move from that feeling. The injured minions also staggered as they tried to get up and escape. Long Fei's eyes turned cold, and he said, Did I let you leave? Ma Dongqiao stopped in his tracks, not daring to take another step forward. The group of minions were the same, all of them shivering. They were afraid that they would be the next to die. Long Fei turned around and walked forward, saying, Who allowed you to come? Ma Dongqiao hesitated. Long Fei glared at him, Speak. Bam. Ma Dongqiao immediately knelt down in fear, and said anxiously, Yes, it's the inner sect senior brother Lin, he asked me to deal with you all. Sun Yong was also sent by him. His soul almost shattered from the shock. He didn't dare to hide anything. Lin Yuan. Long Fei's gaze tensed up. Ma Dongqiao said, That's right, it's senior brother Lin Yuan, I do not dare to disobey his orders. He is an inner sect senior brother, dealing with us is as easy as crushing ants. Junior brother. Oh no. Brother, I was really forced into a corner, and I didn't even think of killing you. Long Fei said, The reason you did not kill us is because you are afraid that Lin Yuan will abandon you. You want to mess with me during the preliminaries? Why are you still not letting us off when we're in the outer court? Lin Yuan, oh Lin Yuan, you've succeeded in attracting my anger. Long Fei squinted his eyes filled with killing intent. Ma Dongqiao did not dare speak, it was as though the killing intent in Long Fei's eyes could burst out and kill him at any moment. It stopped for a moment. Long Fei said faintly, and said, Do you know how to report to Lin Yuan now? Ma Dongqiao replied, I know, nothing happened. Long Fei replied, reporting as usual. Also, tell him that if he wants to kill us, he's still too inexperienced. In addition, Long Fei looked at Sun Yong's corpse and said, Deal with him for me. Sun Yong was one of the 10 strongest warriors in the outer sect. If he was suddenly killed, the outer door presbyter would definitely hold him accountable, and if they found out about Long Fei, it would definitely cause unnecessary trouble. Ma Dongqiao did not dare to refuse, he could only bite the bullet and agree. If he did not agree, then perhaps his little life would also end here, and he said, "Don't worry, big brother, I will definitely take care of this properly." Long Fei nodded, and said, "Very good. Seeing that you're so obedient, I'll let you off this time." However, his voice was firm. Ma Dongqiao's body trembled slightly. "If big brother has anything to say, feel free to ask me. I'll definitely do my best." Long Fei smirked. "Let me tell you this straight. From today onwards, whenever you see me and my brothers, you must call me Grandpa. If not, I will beat you up every time I see you, understand?" "Understood, understood. Grandfather, grandfather." Ma Dongqiao continued. The minions behind him also kept on calling him Grandpa. Long Fei waved his hand, saying, "Clean up the corpses for me, then you don't have much else to do." "Yes, yes." Ma Dongqiao ordered the 2 minions to carry Sun Yong's body and ran out of the courtyard without the slightest hesitation. After Ma Dongqiao and the group left, Long Fei looked at Bailey Tianhai, and said, "You don't need to care about this in the future." Bailey Tianhai did not dare to say more. He was like a child who had done something wrong. He still had some lingering fear from the scene just now. If Long Fei did not come, then Zhao Dahan's head. Under that kind of situation, even if Sun Yong's foot did not crush his head, there would still be a second move, which would be hard for the idiot to escape death. He had miscalculated. Long Fei said, "All right, you guys rest well at home. I'll go register first. I have to enter the inner sect within 3 months. If you don't get revenge with Lin Yuan, you will not be a human," Long Fei said harshly as he walked out with large strides. Long Fei hated people who refused to let go the most. Once, he had to endure it. Once again, he couldn't tolerate it. "You're fucking me. I will definitely kill you until you become a cripple." Long Fei walked out of the courtyard and looked at Zhao Dahan. Zhao Dahan scratched his head and said, "Second brother, I'm fine. Even if he stepped on me just now, I would have been fine." Bailey Tianhai let out a heavy breath, and said, "Big idiot, have you discovered that big brother is much stronger than yesterday?" Zhao Dahan was startled for a moment, then said, "I feel it, every day is getting stronger and stronger, boss is a complete monster." Bailey Tianhai said, "We can't drag boss into this, if not we will become his burden during the assessment in 3 months. Their gazes sharpened. It was clear that they were the ones with higher cultivation than Long Fei, but they felt that Long Fei was countless times stronger than them. This feeling grew stronger and stronger. The outside of the ancient antiquity was like a big city. There was everything here. The outside of the ancient antiquity was like a big city. There was everything here. With the ancient antiquity as the center. All the stores here were controlled by the outer sect. When disciples were given an exception, they bought spirit pellets, magic tools, and other daily necessities. Most of the disciples' exceptions had been used up. And not enough. In this sort of situation, the only option was to continue with missions. Earning points through missions. The usage of points in the outer sect, and even in the entire ancient antiquity, was even greater than holy source stones. Many things that could not be bought with holy source stones could be exchanged for with points. Just like during the annual inner sect examination, you want to sign up? Then he would have to pay 300 points. Only in this way would they have the qualifications to participate. Other than that, there were many other uses, such as requesting special missions. One had to have a point deposit to receive them. Using some special training space required points to exchange for it. Thus, in the outer sect, points were extremely important. At the center of the outer sect were a few tall buildings. Mission Hall. The General Affairs Department. Team Hall. The 3 great buildings were all tall and majestic. Many disciples were gathered at the 3 places. Just like the large city security area in the game, it was extremely lively, making Long Fei feel as if he was in a game. "We're forming a team. We're forming a team. We're still missing a spiritual pill master. For the silver-scaled chest, I only need 10 holy source stones. Buy as many points as you want. Provide a guide for each mission. All senior brother S, juniors, senior sister S, junior sister S, do not miss the guide for any of these missions. I have a guide for each of these quests. Junior brother, you look unfamiliar. Do you want a guide? He's selling the secret skills. It was noisy and lively. Seeing this scene, Long Fei was very excited in his heart. He brought Phoenix to the General Affairs Department and handed over their identity tokens. Register their identities so that they can apply for a mission or do something else. It's registered. 10 points per person. Points can offset the cost of daily quests. If you want to avoid daily quests, you have to earn more points. However, you are all newcomers. Learn more from senior brother first, don't leave the mission easily. In addition, you're already outer court disciples, so you must go see your instructors once every 3 days. They will teach you how to cultivate. Teacher is at the martial arts practice hall. Alright, that's about it. He handed over the identity tokens of Long Fei and the other two. Their names could be considered to have truly entered the ancient antiquity. Long Fei asked, Senior brother, I would like to apply for a barbecue store. I wonder what procedures would be required. Give me your identity board. Long Fei handed it over. The identity board swiping on a divine stone was the same as swiping a credit card in his previous life. Then, he said, alright, deduct 10 points from your application. You can set up a barbecue booth at the night market. Junior brother, I have to remind you that your points are currently 0. You must earn your points as soon as possible. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you to move an inch in the outer court. The 10 points he had just obtained were all gone. The consumption rate was too fast. Long Fei said, thank you for the reminder. A barbecue stand. I don't know if I can make it back. In order to earn points, one had to earn holy source stones as well. Right now, he needed holy source stones for his cultivation, as did Zhao Dehan and Bailey Tianhai. He ate a few mouthfuls of the roasted meat from yesterday. It wasn't that it tasted bad, but it tasted especially bad. They didn't know what barbecue was like at all. Even so, Phoenix was still eating with relish. The night market's barbecue store business was booming. If he opened his store, he believed that it would definitely be extremely popular. With a way to earn money, he would not have to worry about the consumption of his cultivation. However, before the barbecue started, Long Fei had to go and kill the demon beast. The raw materials were provided by themselves, that was the only good thing. He could also save money and give out missions. Long Fei pulled the Phoenix, who was curious about everything, out of the General Affairs office and into the mission hall. He didn't know what would happen if he didn't go in, but when he did, Long Fei was really shocked. Because the hall of the mission hall was exactly the same as the one where the train stations bought tickets in the 1990s. It was packed with people. Phoenix could not help but mutter, so many people. There was a huge projection screen in the lobby, displaying all kinds of missions, such as the time to the mission, the level of the task, and the risk factor. The more dangerous the mission, the higher the reward. Moreover, there were also some missions with very high coefficients that had a special symbol, a star, and some missions with many stars behind them. Long Fei did not understand. He looked at the screen beside him and asked, Senior brother, what does it mean to have stars at the end of the mission? Is it the number of times it has been completed? Or what? The disciple glanced at Long Fei, and said, Did you come back yesterday? Long Fei nodded and said, En. No wonder you don't even know the basics. Those stars do not represent the number of times a mission has been completed, but rather the number of times a failure has occurred. Those stars do not represent the number of times a mission has been completed, but the number of times a failure has been completed. Long Fei looked at the mission panel. The panel refreshed. On the uppermost mission, Long Fei's gaze tightened. What kind of mission is that? Over 100 stars. Could it be that over 100 people have failed? That senior brother said, not just 100 people, but 100 teams. That mission is one of the 3 divine missions in the outer sect. Let alone the outer sect disciples, there are not even many senior brother S in the inner sect that can complete it. Passing through the South Heaven Gate? Long Fei read out the mission name, South Heaven Gate? A door to the heavens? The senior brother laughed. You're right. The gate to the heavens is even harder to pass than a gate to the heavens. No one has been able to complete this mission in the past 100 years. The points for this mission is also higher every year, just this mission alone has 800 points. His eyes were also burning with passion. If he could complete this mission, then he would truly become famous in a single battle and cause a sensation in the inner and outer sects. 800 points might not seem like a lot, but one could count on one hand, and the risk factor for each mission was extremely high. The ordinary task credit rewards were all in single digits. In the outer sect, a single point was equivalent to a spirit stone. A quest worth 800 points, it was an unreachable existence. 100 failures proved everything. These failures not only referred to the outer sect disciples, but also the inner sect. Senior brother S. Long Fei asked, Senior brother, you just mentioned the 3 gods mission, why did you see one? Is it difficult to pass through the South Heaven Gate? TCH, oh junior brother, you sure have a big mouth. Is it that difficult to pass through the South Heaven Gate? Let me tell you, it's not hard to describe, it's even harder than ascending to heaven, do you understand? The missions of the 3 gods are all in the same series. Passing through the South Heaven Gate is the first mission. The next mission will only appear after the completion of this mission. The second mission's name is Heaven Seizing Court. The third mission's name was Heaven Punisher. South Heaven Gate, Heavenly Court, God of Heaven. Why is it like this, with the exception of the Jade Emperor? Long Fei muttered. South Heaven Gate, Heavenly Court, God of Heaven. Why is it like this, with the exception of the Jade Emperor? Long Fei muttered. None of the 3 god missions had been completed before. After failing hundreds of times, there was no need to talk about what came after. The next mission would only appear after the pass through South Heaven Gate had been completed. Long Fei asked, what are the conditions required to complete this mission? The senior brother said, 50 contribution points. You can join as well, but... He looked at Long Fei and laughed, no team from the swordsman rank would want you. I am very curious, exactly who brought you into ancient antiquity? Swordsman rank. How can I enter the ancient antiquity? In the entire ancient antiquity, even the followers' cultivation levels were higher than Long Fei's. The swordsman rank was too low. Long Fei laughed, I am someone else's follower. The senior brother was relieved and said, that's more like it, I was just saying the swordsman rank. Just as he was about to continue, his eyes flashed, the goddess senior sister is here. Phoenix also said, hubby, quickly look. The beautiful big sister is here. Goddess. Senior sister Liu. Too beautiful, my god, if only I could be intimate with her. Fangza your sister, if you dare to blaspheme my goddess, I'll kill you. It's so beautiful. She's really just like a fairy. Even a divine space wouldn't be able to find such a beautiful woman. I must work hard to enter the inner sect, I must enter the Sword Elf Mountain. At the mission entrance, Liu Luoshi walked towards the mission window in large strides, without even glancing at the disciples around her. Dressed in a tight suit and with a ponytail, she walked straight to the mission window. Everyone around him made way. Moreover, it was the type of distance that one would need to retreat 2 to 3 meters. He didn't dare to approach. He was afraid that he would desecrate his goddess. Liu Luoshi walked to the window, conversed a bit, and then turned and left. Everyone was looking at her. The entire hall was incredibly quiet as they waited for her to leave the task hall. Following that, he rushed forward like a swarm of bees. Which mission did senior sister accept? Passing through the South Heaven Gate? The goddess senior sister accepted the mission. This is her 3rd attempt, right? The goddess senior sister is just not the same. She won't stop until this mission is completed. Is she alone again this time? She's always been alone, and she still wants to be her partner. Phoenix watched as Liu Luoshi left and she immediately ran out. Long Fei was startled, and asked, "Where are you going?" Phoenix went to chase after Liu Luoshi. Long Fei also quickly chased after him. In the center of the plaza, the little red face of Phoenix caught up to Liu Luoshi. Spreading her hands, she stopped Liu Luoshi and giggled, beautiful sister, this mission that you have accepted is too dangerous. You need a strong and powerful bodyguard." Liu Luoshi looked at the phoenix, which was 10 years old, and it was exquisite and cute, making people fall in love with it with a single glance. Liu Luoshi slightly squatted down and said with a smile, "Do you want to protect me?" Phoenix shook her head and said, "It's not me. It's my husband who can protect you." "Poochie. Your husband? How old are you and you already have a husband?" Liu Luoshi could not hold back his laughter. Those who saw her smile were stunned. He was stupefied. He had never seen Liu Luoshi smile before. Tempting 10,000 cities. Phoenix's face was serious as she said, "Beautiful big sister, can you also be my husband's woman? He can protect you. He's the strongest man in the world." She was very serious. Moreover, Phoenix did not exaggerate at all. That was what she thought. In her eyes, Long Fei was the strongest. Long Fei caught up with her, looked at Phoenix and glared at her, then said, "Bing Bing, come here." Liu Luoshi looked at Phoenix, and said, "You're called Bing Bing, I'll remember you. Hurry over to your brother's place." She glanced at Long Fei. Their eyes met. In that instant, Liu Luoshi's heart thumped for a moment. It was a very strange feeling, as if she had been struck by lightning. However, taking another look, she laughed at herself, but her heart calmed down again. Liu Luoshi, what's wrong with you?" After he retracted his gaze, Liu Luoshi turned around and prepared to leave. Long Fei said, "It's too dangerous for you to go alone. If possible, bring me along." Very direct. There was no hesitation. But, without waiting for Liu Luoshi to reject, the people around them all started to laugh. "Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Kid, don't you have a little tough spot? What is your cultivation level? That the trash of the swordsman rank would dare to say such words? Kid, are you insulting my goddess?" Many people were laughing at him, mocking Long Fei's ignorance, ridiculing his arrogance. A mission that no one had completed in 100 years, he, a swordsman rank man, actually said that he could help. How overestimating was this? The jeers from the surroundings did not stop, but Long Fei was extremely serious. He looked at Liu Luoshi, waiting for his answer. Quests were just like instance dungeons. He believed that there must be a bug to find. Liu Luoshi said with his mouth wide open, "No." The moment the words came out of his mouth, a group of people walked out from behind Long Fei, and a disciple pushed Long Fei away with one hand. "Scram, don't block our god's sword child's way." A group of people dressed in gorgeous clothes walked out. Their armband was different from the armband for outer court disciples. They were all inner court disciples. The surrounding outer sect disciples immediately stepped aside, lowering their heads, not daring to look them in the eye. Long Fei was pushed away, and looked up. A man shouted, "What are you looking at? You're courting death. Even an outer sect trash like you dares to think of doing a mission with senior sister Liu? A toad wanting to eat a swan? Brat, take good care of yourself by peeing, okay? Scram." After he finished speaking, someone turned around and bowed to a man wearing a purple crown and said with a smile, "Young master, the mission has been accepted." Sky Sword walked over, looked at Liu Luoshi and smiled. "Junior sister, I will also take the South Heaven Gate mission. How about we go together? I'll give you all the rewards of completing the mission." Liu Luoshi said coldly, "No need, I like someone." With that, he turned around and was about to leave. One of the disciples immediately went forward to block the way, and said, "Senior sister Liu, my young master is not done yet, don't be in a hurry to reject him." Heavenly Sword, "Junior sister, I know that you want to exchange for Seek Mirror S with points. As long as you nod your head, I can immediately give you 1,000 points. It's fine if you don't want to accept it, but at least let me help you finish the mission. With my strength, in addition to your cultivation, it shouldn't be hard for me." Liu Luoshi was still very determined. "No need. Tian Jian's eyes narrowed as he took a step forward. Phoenix placed her hands on her waist and asked angrily, "Can't you hear what others are saying? Beautiful sis doesn't need your help. She wants to be with my husband. Right, hubby." Her eyes opened wide as she looked at Long Fei. At the same time, the group of God's sword child turned around and looked at Long Fei as well. Phoenix was naturally pure, kind, and naive. She did not understand how the world felt, nor did she understand how she pushed Long Fei to the edge of the cliff with a single word just now. Phoenix was naturally pure, kind, and naive. She did not understand how the world felt, nor did she understand how she pushed Long Fei to the edge of the cliff with a single word just now. This was a pig's teammate. It was all a scam. However, Long Fei remained calm. Facing the gazes of contempt and hatred from the inner sect disciples, he did not show any signs of shock. It paused for a few seconds. The surroundings quieted down. The nearby outer court disciples were all discussing in low voices. This guy is in trouble. If he dares to offend the God's sword child, he is probably done for. Who in God's sword child doesn't know about this? The young genius of the Sword Elf Mountain. His talent in ancient times combined with the ancient heavenly sword, that's why he's called God's sword child. A dregs of swordsman rank dares to snatch girls from the God's sword child. His little life is coming to an end. Serves him right, he can't even be considered a toad. At most, he's just a toad tadpole, yet he dares to act tough in front of the senior sister. Serves him right if he dies. God's sword child was very famous. The young genius had outstanding sword skills, and his fused sky sword was even more so incomparably sharp, comparable to an existence of a holy artifact. Some elders asserted that even if he could not reach the ascendant stage, he could still step into the emperor realm. This evaluation was extremely high. At the same time, he had the strength to do so. God's sword child stared at Long Fei and paused for a few seconds. Suddenly, Poochie. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. He couldn't help but laugh out loud. And then, the inner sect disciples beside him all started laughing. Although they did not know what the God's sword child was laughing about, they were all laughing loudly. God's sword child stopped laughing, looked at Liu Luoshi, and said, "Junior sister, you aren't really going to team up with this trash, right?" Liu Luoshi frowned. She had never intended to follow a group and travel together. It was just that. Phoenix, who was beside him, was too adorable, so she said a few more words. Now that Phoenix had said this, she did not know what to say, because she knew very well what kind of person God's sword child was. Without waiting for Liu Luoshi to speak, the center of God's sword child's brows slightly wrinkled, and said, "If it's someone that junior sister has chosen, I definitely won't stop him. But if this fellow wasn't the one junior sister chose, he would have shamelessly followed you. Junior sister, don't worry, I will immediately make him lie on the ground and not be able to get up." Either Liu Luoshi admitted that she was the one who found Long Fei, or God's sword child killed Long Fei. The inner court disciples killing the outer court disciples didn't need any explanation. Just like how Lin Yuan killed the test disciple, killing him in front of Elder of Inner House acted as if he did not see anything. Because the lives of inner disciples were even lower than grass. Phoenix also looked at Liu Luoshi, her two big eyes blinking. Long Fei also looked at Liu Luoshi, and said indifferently, "It doesn't matter if senior sister doesn't agree, I still have the ability to protect myself." Long Fei didn't want to make things difficult for Liu Luoshi. Inner court disciple. God's sword child. Genius of the sword Dao. Sorry, Long Fei had never been afraid before. Self-defense. You. Ha ha ha. Kid, do you know who you're talking to? God's sword child's voice became heavy as he stared at Long Fei, his eyes filled with killing intent. Long Fei still maintained his calm expression. He wasn't afraid in the slightest. Liu Luoshi felt the killing intent in God's sword child's eyes, and his eyebrows tightened. He took a step forward and said, "He is my teammate." Huh. Long Fei was secretly surprised. God's sword child slightly narrowed his eyes, looked at Liu Luoshi and laughed. "Since you are the one who junior sister has chosen, I won't make it difficult for you no matter what. Although he said this, the killing intent in his eyes became thicker. Liu Luoshi pulled the phoenix's small hand, glanced at Long Fei, and said, "Let's go." Phoenix giggled and jumped up and down. Long Fei knew that Liu Luoshi was helping him and smiled. When he took a step forward, God's sword child placed a hand on Long Fei's shoulder. His strength sank. She held Long Fei down all of a sudden. Long Fei did not move. Liu Luoshi immediately asked, "Senior brother Heavenly Sword, what do you want to do?" The corner of God's sword child's mouth curled as he smiled and said, "Don't worry, junior sister, I won't do anything to him." Then, God's sword child leaned into Long Fei's ear and coldly said, "Boy, congratulations, you've successfully offended me. You dare to steal my woman. Do you know the price you have to pay for provoking me? You can't live, you can't die. Just you wait." The voice was sinister, and the killing intent in his eyes was exceptionally strong. Just as he was about to leave, Long Fei suddenly took a step forward and coldly said, "You better scram further away from this place, otherwise you will regret being born in this world." "I'll remember it." Similarly, Long Fei's voice became even more sinister, as if she came from hell. Tian Jian's mind went cold, and he did not know why, but he felt a chill run down his spine. He was stunned. When he reacted, Long Fei had already taken a few steps forward, clenching his fists tightly. His eyes revealed a sinister look, and his face became extremely ugly. "What happened to me just now? Scared by a sword warrior trash? Impossible." With his cultivation level, he could easily crush a swordsman warrior with a finger. How could he be scared? However, cold sweat dripped from his forehead as his palms turned cold. A few underlings came over and asked, "Young master, what did that kid say? Do we need to stop that brat?" "Young master, as long as you say the word, I will capture him immediately." The God's sword child's gaze turned sinister as he looked at Long Fei's disappearing back figure. He bellowed, "You dog." Killing intent soared to the heavens. "All right, they didn't come. You can leave now," Liu Luoshi said indifferently as they walked to a remote alley. His eyes were ice cold. Phoenix was stunned. She asked, "Beautiful sister, aren't you going with us?" Long Fei did not say thank you, because he did not need Liu Luoshi's help. Even if Tian Jian and the other popinjays had some power, he could deal with them. Long Fei looked at Liu Luoshi and said, "You won't be able to pass the South Heaven Gate mission by yourself, so I might be able to help you." "You?" Liu Luoshi was a little angry, and said, "With your swordsman rank? If it wasn't for me, you would probably be dead by now. You still want to help me? Take care of yourself first." She knew why men approached him. She would not fall in love with any man except that man. Even if she reached the end of her lifespan, she would still wait for that man to appear. If she hadn't appeared, she wouldn't have fallen for the second man. Phoenix muttered, "Big sister, my husband is very powerful." "Really, I am not lying to you." "All right." Liu Luoshi did not believe that a person with swordsman rank could be that powerful. He looked at Long Fei and said, "I'm not a 3-year-old child, I'm not that easy to deceive. All of you, hurry up and leave. If possible, it would be best to leave the ancient antiquity." Finished. Liu Luoshi walked out of the alley in large strides, and didn't look back. Ever since Liu Luoshi entered the ancient antiquity, she had always been alone, with few friends and no companions. Ever since Liu Luoshi entered the ancient antiquity, she had always been alone, with few friends and no companions. Her master had reminded her several times to find a partner, as it would be beneficial for her to train like this. There were many monstrous geniuses in ancient antiquity who expressed their love and admiration for her, but she was indifferent to it all. Even if the sect master were to personally grant her a marriage, she would still reject it. Because she was waiting for someone. Waiting for a man to appear. So many years had passed, yet that person had never appeared. Liu Luoshi's heart was in a mess. She was afraid that that person would not appear, afraid that that man would no longer exist in this world. Scared. When she found out that there was an ancient holy artifact in the ancient antiquity. Seek mirror. As long as the idea and the seek mirror unite, in their hearts, they would think of a person, and that person's location would appear in the mirror. However, exchanging for Seek Mirror required a lot of points. With her current points, it was too difficult to exchange for Seek Mirror. The only way was to complete the 3 god missions. Only then would her points be enough to exchange for Seek Mirror once. She would be able to do what she thought was right, and where the man she was waiting for would be. For this, she tried hard. However, the quest was simply too difficult. She had failed continuously. This time, she did not have much confidence. Even if there was a tiny chance, she wouldn't let it go. She must find the man. Hubby, Big Sister Beauty seems to be angry. What should we do? The phoenix played with the corner of its clothes, and muttered while looking at Liu Luoshi's distant figure. Long Fei said, "It's fine if she doesn't want us to follow her." Phoenix said, "No way. Hubby, do you know how to catch a girl?" Long Fei said, "You little girl still understand all this?" Phoenix replied, 3 methods. Long Fei asked, "Those 3? Her skin is thick, her skin is very thick, even thicker than the city walls. Only with her perseverance can she catch up to a girl. Hubby, let's go chase after the beautiful big sister. Like you said, that mission is very difficult. If something were to happen to her, you would lose a wife." Phoenix said with a serious expression. Long Fei was startled. He wasn't the kind of guy who liked to put his hot face against someone else's cold ass. However, Liu Luoshi was different. Disregarding her beauty, Long Fei still felt that her name was very familiar, just like the phoenix he saw for the first time. It was also that kind of familiar feeling. But he couldn't remember. Long Fei looked at the phoenix, and said, "Small fries and big devils. Little girl, why are you so sure that she's my woman? Just because she's beautiful?" Long Fei was very confused. There were a lot of beautiful women, and Liu Luoshi was indeed a bit more beautiful, but just because she was beautiful, she was determined. Phoenix giggled and said, "I don't know either. In any case, when I saw Big Sister Luoshi, I felt very happy in my heart. I feel that a beautiful woman like her should be my husband's woman. Hubby, let's chase them. Beautiful sister is about to disappear." Long Fei and Phoenix gave chase. Not long after, the phoenix pulled the corner of Liu Luoshi's clothes and said, "Beautiful big sister, don't be angry. My husband doesn't know anything, he's just a weakling in swordsman rank. He wants to train with you, so take him with you. I promise you, he will definitely not give you any trouble." "Sure." The phoenix began to sell adorably again. Her big eyes blinked as she looked at Liu Luoshi. Her small mouth pouted, as if she was acting coquettishly, causing people's hearts to ache for her. Long Fei also said, "I'll just watch from the side, I won't drag you down." Liu Luoshi looked at the phoenix and then looked at Long Fei. She refused in her heart. But, at this moment, her inner heart relaxed once again. She didn't know why she agreed, but she said indifferently, "Fine, I'll let you follow me on account of the little girl. But, just follow behind me, don't do anything else. Also, once you reach the secret world of South Heaven Gate, you can only wait outside. You are not allowed to enter the secret world without waiting for Long Fei to speak." Phoenix immediately promised, Okay, I promise." Liu Luoshi said, "Then wait for me at the teleportation hall. I'm going to the black market to buy a few things." Long Fei said, "I will also inform my friends." Liu Luoshi said, "The teleportation hall will reconvene in half an hour. I have a mission to complete. Here are a few holy source stones, you can keep them. All 3 is injured, so you should rest well in the next few days. All 3, take care of him. Also, here is your identity plate." Long Fei explained. He didn't know when Lin Yuan would come looking for trouble again, but even one of the top 10, Sun Yong, was defeated by him, so he shouldn't be that fast in a short time. Ma Dongchao definitely did not dare to come again. Bailey Tianhai said, "Big brother, you stay outside and be careful." Long Fei replied, "I will." Half an hour later, Long Fei arrived at the teleportation hall. This place was where the ancient antiquity would lead to some specific places, and there was a special teleportation gate. "Hubby, why isn't the beautiful big sister here yet? She's not gone." Phoenix was somewhat worried. Long Fei said, "Probably not, since she agreed, then she shouldn't let us go." The two of them waited for more than 10 minutes, but there was still no one. Long Fei felt that it was a little strange. He secretly thought, did he really leave me behind? Phoenix suggested, "Beautiful sis has gone to the black market. Why don't we go look for her there?" At this moment, Liu Luoshi said softly, "I'm here." With that, his figure landed behind Phoenix. The aura emitted from her body was quite intense, and her face was a bit red. She must have been fighting just now, and her aura hadn't even calmed down yet. Liu Luoshi looked into the distance and said anxiously, "Let's go in." Phoenix did not think too much about it, and immediately followed Liu Luoshi into the teleportation hall. Long Fei paused for a moment, seeing that there were a few black-clothed men dressed in tight robes looking for someone in the crowd. Long Fei looked at Liu Luoshi, who had just entered the teleportation hall, and without much thought, he followed. "To the Nantian city," Liu Luoshi said indifferently. The disciple said, "Senior sister, you're going to challenge the South Heaven Gate again? You even brought helpers this time? Senior sister, aren't you a lone wolf?" "Why would I?" Liu Luoshi's gaze turned cold. The disciple immediately activated the formation, and didn't dare to say anything else. The three of them walked into the teleportation circle. With a flash of white light, they appeared in another place. "Young master, that brat really did follow senior sister Liu to Nantian City. Also, senior sister Liu stole something from the black market just now. The black market leader has already sent people to investigate her." God's sword child did not hear the last sentence, and his eyes became sinister. "Bitch, you really brought her to Nantian City. You dog. You dare to fight with me for a woman? I will definitely make it so that you won't be able to come back." In front of us is the Nantian City. If you want to pass through the South Heaven Gate, this is the first stop. In front of us is the Nantian City. If you want to pass through the South Heaven Gate, this is the first stop. You two can't stay 2 meters away from me, do you understand? Liu Luoshi's face turned serious. He looked at Long Fei with some hesitation, and in the end, said softly, "Follow me closely." Phoenix nodded seriously and said, "En." Long Fei followed him. Nantian City, an extremely dilapidated city. There were no pedestrians on the road, and the surroundings looked quite gloomy, giving people the feeling that they had arrived at the Fengdu Ghost City. This city. Long Fei was a little doubtful in his heart. Sect missions could also be called instance dungeons. This was the outer sect's most difficult quest, the highest level instance dungeon. In order to pass, one had to pay attention to all the details. With Liu Luoshi's powerful cultivation, she had already failed 3 times as a genius of Sword Elf Mountain, which showed that this quest was not something that could be passed with a simple martial skill. There must be some other reason. What is Long Fei? Game expert, instance dungeon expert. He had already passed the Berserk Beast dungeon. The Violent Sword dungeon was so difficult, so what other secondary instincts could possibly hold him back? Liu Luoshi said blandly, "This city is not ordinary. The people inside are all ghosts, and the lowest level ghosts are all in the sword sect realm. The strongest ghost is even stronger than me, and we can't kill all of them, so you guys must follow me closely after we enter the city." Liu Luoshi reminded her once again in a serious tone. "Spirits." Long Fei secretly noted it down in his heart. "Is there anything special about it?" Liu Luoshi asked, "What's special about it?" "The special thing is that you can't kill them all. If you can't kill them all, once you attract too many ghosts, don't even think of going any further. The only way is to withdraw from the Nantian City. This is the only way to survive. If you guys are surrounded and I can't save you, then you'll be safe. Those ghosts won't leave the city." Long Fei remembered every word. This might be useful information. Can't kill him? Extremely large number. You can't leave the city? And they don't chase after the retreating people? This information. Long Fei raised his head to look at the high walls, and thought to himself, there should be some kind of restriction power in this city, or maybe there is some kind of array formation in this city, the boundary, the ghosts cannot come out. Not long later. The three of them arrived at the city gate. The city gate was ajar, and a cold wind blew from inside, causing people to shiver. Liu Luoshi warned for the third time, "It's very dangerous inside. If you're afraid, you can wait here." Phoenix immediately said, "Beautiful sister, we are not afraid." Long Fei said, "Since I'm here, I should go in and take a look." Liu Luoshi said, "Okay, remember what I said, don't leave my 2-meter range." Finished. Liu Luoshi stepped onto the Nantian city. Long Fei pulled Phoenix and followed closely. After his body had completely entered the Nantian city, Long Fei felt that he had entered into another world. There wasn't a single person, nor was there a ghost that Liu Luoshi had mentioned. The entire world was incomparably quiet. There was not a single sound. Phoenix said, "This place is very strange." Liu Luoshi immediately made a gesture of silence, and said softly, "Don't talk." Woo! A humming sound could be heard. Liu Luoshi's eyes changed, his body moved, shua. With a wave of the long sword, it swept out. A ghost suddenly appeared, and in the instant it appeared, it was also slashed into two by Liu Luoshi. The ghost was just like a ghost. After being slashed into two by Liu Luoshi, his illusory body fell onto the ground and slowly disappeared. Phoenix said excitedly, "Sister, you're so awesome." Indeed. Then the speed of her reaction. At the very least, Long Fei was not able to reach that realm, and her speed was astonishing. Moreover, as soon as the ghost appeared, it chopped down and killed it. That speed, that sword technique, that damaging prowess. It was a bit of an explosion, but Long Fei was a little doubtful. The ghost just now did not have any blood channels. Or did it happen too fast that I didn't notice? No gosh. This was a little strange. Everything that Long Fei saw became a game for the system, which meant that as long as anyone, monster or demon, appeared alive in front of him, there would be a cut on the top of his head. What kind of situation was this? This was the first time Long Fei had met one. Maybe it was too fast. I didn't see it clearly. Long Fei secretly thought. Liu Luoshi said calmly, "Stop talking, follow me closely." Liu Luoshi carefully walked forward with every step. Her aura radiated slightly as she sensed her surroundings. The phoenix looked fearless as it followed behind Liu Luoshi with a playful smile on its face. Long Fei observed his surroundings. Other than the slightly dark colors, the rest of the place was similar to a normal city. It was just that every shop, yard, mansion, and all the other entrances were open. Many shops were still filled with various products that had already rotted and dried up. Clean, tidy, without any confusion. It looks like everyone in the city evaporated in an instant. Long Fei thought. At this moment, Liu Luoshi suddenly stopped and looked ahead. The phoenix bumped into Liu Luoshi's body and asked, "Big sister, why aren't you leaving?" Liu Luoshi did not speak, his gaze fixated at the intersection. Long Fei took the opportunity to look over. This is Little Boss. A man with a short stature and wearing armor with a katana at his waist. His appearance couldn't be seen clearly. His body was covered in black flames. The key point was, his body was glowing with a golden light. This was the special characteristic of a boss. Liu Luoshi whispered, "Ghost General. This is my 4th time here, the first time I met a Ghost General." Phoenix asked, "What is a Ghost General?" Liu Luoshi said, "To put it simply, he's a monster from the underworld Ghost Manor. This kind of monster has the power of hell. Did you see the black flames on his body? Only hell's organisms have this kind of hellfire. The two of you stand here, don't move." Liu Luoshi slightly moved his sword and took a step forward. The Ghost General looked up, his 2 black eyes burning with black flames. Seeing the great Liu Luoshi take a step forward, he held the katana tightly in his hands and slowly pulled it out. Yi Zichen glared. Shua. His figure blurred and disappeared from the spot. So fast. Long Fei secretly thought and understood the situation through the system. This is not an ordinary Ghost General. The reason why he disappeared just now wasn't because of his speed, but because of a special ninja technique. Shadow cuts. It was also Liu Luoshi's first time meeting a Ghost General. Facing this sudden disappearance, she was not afraid, and her eyes slightly moved. Buzz. 8 shadows suddenly rushed out. The katana slashed out. Long Fei was shocked. All of them were physical. They were all physical entities. They were all physical entities. If it was a ninja technique, suddenly creating a clone, the clone would look exactly the same. They were all real, but it was impossible to trick the system. Those with blood vessels were the real deal. Thus, Long Fei kept using the system to observe. As he waited for the shadows to emerge, he discovered that all 8 of them had a gash in them, meaning that all 8 of them had physical bodies. Could it be that there were 8 people just now? Long Fei exclaimed. At the same time, Liu Luoshi looked at Long Fei, her heart turning cold. At the same time she changed her sword techniques. Limitless sword. Swastika. The long sword swept out. Rumble. 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 With her as the center, streams of sword chi burst out from the ground, forming a miniature sword chi formation with a diameter of 10 meters. The sword chi flashed and formed a swastika. Bam! A figure was sent flying into the darkness by the sword beams. Bam! Bang! Bang! A single sword strike had defeated the enemy. None of the 8 figures got near to Liu Luoshi's body and were all sent flying by her attacks. It was very sharp. She even had 8 myriad sword techniques. The sword art was infused with the will of the Tao of Buddhism. To this evil creature from the infernal realm, the damage was doubled. Furthermore, to be able to change his sword technique at such a fast speed, Liu Luoshi had to be powerful. It was no wonder that she could become the great senior sister of the Sword Elf Mountain. Not because of her beautiful appearance, but because of her powerful strength. Long Fei said softly, "They seem to be 8 ghost generals, and none of them died." Liu Luoshi was shocked yet again. As he suspected in his heart, the damage caused by the swastika sword chi earlier was extremely strong. I couldn't even determine if he was dead, yet he knew he wasn't. She looked calm on the surface, but she didn't show the shock in her heart. His aura surged. Buddha. Liu Luoshi's eyes flashed with a bright light, and the power within her body also released a bright light. In an instant, under the light that radiated from her body, the dull crossroads' surroundings became abnormally clear. The area 20 meters around Liu Luoshi was densely packed with ghosts. Old people, children, women, men, all of them. Everyone stood there and looked at Liu Luoshi. Phoenix was shocked. Long Fei was also shocked. I wasn't mistaken just now, these ghosts do not have any traces of blood on them. If that's the case, that means one thing, these ghosts are most likely all NPCs. They won't take the initiative to attack. Liu Luoshi's pupils tightened. She absolutely did not expect that there would be so many ghosts gathered around her. The Buddhist light exploded. Buzz. It became dazzling. The spirits retreated one by one, but they did not panic. On the contrary, their eyes were anxious. Just as if there was something that required Liu Luoshi's help, even if he had to take the risk, he did not leave. Buddhist light sword radiance. The sword merged with the Buddhist light, the power on the sword became incomparably powerful. Long Fei's forehead tightened, he immediately took a step forward and said, "Wait." Liu Luoshi frowned, slightly unhappy, said, "What are you doing here? Hurry up and move to the side." In her world, she wouldn't care about any man other than that one, and she didn't need any men to appear. Long Fei's sudden appearance made her feel extremely unhappy. Thus, Liu Luoshi did not give any face at all, and said, "Scram." Long Fei did not leave, but quickly walked to her side and said, "Listen to me first, these ghosts might not be trying to hurt you." Liu Luoshi simply could not stop there, and with a heavy sound, he shouted, "Scram." Long Fei's brows tightened, he was also angry, and said, "You don't understand my words, right?" Liu Luoshi was startled, he did not expect Long Fei to dare speak to her like that. His eyes became cold as he said, "Your true face has been revealed, right? Follow me. I know what you're thinking. Now scram further away from me. If you dare to come any closer, I will take your life." Liu Luoshi's voice became colder and colder. She was like an iceberg. Long Fei's anger rose. What do you mean by exposing your true face? Your father's face has always been like this. You want me to get lost? This is not your home. You don't have the right to tell me to scram. Long Fei retorted, but in his heart, he was also dissatisfied. Phoenix was surprised for a moment. She looked at the two of them and giggled. Auntie once said that fight is marriage, cursing is love. Are the two of you in love now? Hee hee. Liu Luoshi squinted, stared at Long Fei, and said again, I'll give you one last warning, get the hell out of my sight. Long Fei also didn't want to say more, so he said, this place isn't your home, you don't have the qualifications to tell me to scram. Boom. The Buddhist light and the sword beam moved heavily. Liu Luoshi said straightforwardly, then don't blame me for being rude. Fall. The Buddhist light enveloped him and the sword light wreaked havoc. All of a sudden, a huge cross of light appeared above Liu Luoshi's head. If he chopped down, all the ghosts would probably die. Long Fei's violent temper also rose. Then let's see who's the one being impolite to who. Boom. Ancient dragon body. The aura on Long Fei's body suddenly changed. He clenched both of his fists tightly together as he held the great sword in his hand. Seeing Liu Luoshi's powerful sword moves, Long Fei held his sword with both hands, berserk beast sword art. Ascending dragon. Boom. He slashed out with his sword. Under the great treasured sword, streams of sword chi broke through the ground and shot into the sky. Each of the sword chi was like a berserk dragon. He soared into the sky. Liu Luoshi's Buddhist light sword light cross slash also heavily smashed down. Rumble. 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 The two sword techniques clashed, wreaking havoc everywhere. Long Fei retreated slightly, and the blood underneath his chest started to boil. Long Fei of the ancient dragon body was actually able to make the blood boil? Liu Luoshi's sword technique was powerful beyond belief. Of course. This was also Long Fei's intentional control. His ancient dragon body's power had yet to be fully unleashed. Liu Luoshi's face was flushed red, he retreated a few steps before stabilizing himself, and looked at Long Fei in shock. You. Long Fei said with a heavy voice. Have you calmed down now? Can you listen to me now? Liu Luoshi never thought that a person who was only a swordsman would have such great power. Her cultivation level was immortal swordsman rank. However, in this match, he was actually weaker by half a point. Liu Luoshi said solemnly, what do you want to say? She was careful. I knew how to kill, and if I wanted to use my brain to solve a problem, I would have to use force. No wonder the ancient people said it was so brainless. Long Fei complained once, then said, these spirits are very strange, I think they have something to request of us, don't be in a hurry to make a move, let's see what they want to do first. This was Long Fei's intuition. He walked up with large strides. Without a blood groove, these spirits were very special. Without a blood groove, these spirits were very special. Moreover, Long Fei observed them carefully, and saw the pleading look in their eyes. It had to be the reason. Liu Luoshi said, they are just a group of ghosts, what can they say? They will only want your life. Long Fei did not care about Liu Luoshi, walked in front of a spirit and asked, do they want my life? You want it. Did they attack me? Long Fei stood there, unmoving. Actually, he was also testing the waters, but he wasn't 100% confident. Only, Liu Luoshi made him a little angry. When Liu Luoshi saw that the spirits did not attack Long Fei at all, and that all of them were looking at him, their eyes were blazing with passion. Her heart was also shaken as she said unhappily, even if I don't harm you, what can you do? They are just ghosts, just a remnant soul. They are nothing. Long Fei said, all things in the world have a spirit, so what if you have a remnant soul? They too have a spirit. Long Fei did not continue talking with Liu Luoshi and asked, did something happen here? The ghost quickly nodded. Liu Luoshi was startled, her eyes tensed up as she turned her gaze away, not looking at Long Fei. Because she didn't want to see Long Fei feeling complacent in front of her. It was just that. Long Fei did not even look at her. Liu Luoshi couldn't help but be curious, and looked in Long Fei's direction as he thought in his heart, Elder told me, these ghosts are extremely dangerous. Could it be? Is it fake? Why not attack him? Was it fear? Liu Luoshi was puzzled. This was the 4th time she had been here. Every time she had been here, she had killed her way through, never stopping, never paying attention to the looks in the spirit's eyes. There were several times when the spirits knelt in front of her and kowtowed. She only thought that these ghosts were begging for mercy, but now that she thought about it, their eyes didn't seem to be asking for forgiveness, but for something else. What can we do? If we can help you, you can say so. We will definitely help you, Long Fei said. Under these circumstances, he must ask patiently. Because this may trigger the task. It was very possible that this quest had something to do with the South Heaven Gate. The spirits all knelt down towards Long Fei. Long Fei stood in the middle of the intersection. From all directions, all the ghosts were kneeling on the ground. This scene. It was too shocking. Liu Luoshi was also stunned. It was like worshipping an emperor. Liu Luoshi had never seen such a scene before. Long Fei immediately said, "No need for such a big bow, just say whatever you have to. If you can do it, we will definitely do it. If it cannot be done, I will also do it with all my strength." One of the ghosts stood up and gestured, indicating that he could not speak. Following that, he pointed to the tall buildings in the distance. Long Fei looked at the direction of his hand and was slightly shocked. If he did not point it out, Long Fei really would not have thought that there was a skyscraper in the Nantian city. The shape of an ancient building. However, it stood tall in the clouds. High above, there was a ball of black flames. There was something odd about it. Long Fei said, "Do you want me to go there?" The ghost quickly nodded. Liu Luoshi immediately said, "No." Long Fei looked at her. "Liu Luoshi, just now, the ghost general came from that place. The aura of that place is extremely dangerous, and we cannot approach it. If we provoke them, none of us will survive. Besides, our mission is not to save them. Our goal is to pass through the South Heaven Gate." Long Fei said, "Don't you think they are pitiful? There's only one remnant soul left, and it's still imprisoning this city. Don't you want to help them? Maybe there will be a special harvest." Long Fei didn't say it so clearly. However, Liu Luoshi answered straightforwardly, "I don't want to." She did not think of helping these ghosts. She only thought of how to complete the mission, how to obtain the task reward, and she only wanted to exchange for the right to use the Seek Mirror. Where was the man she had been waiting for? Dead or alive? That was all she was thinking about. As for other things, she had never thought of this in the past 100 years. Phoenix also muttered, "Beautiful sister, they look really pitiful. Let's just help them." Liu Luoshi said coldly, "I'll help you." "I can't help you." Finished. Liu Luoshi took a step forward, looked at Long Fei, and walked away. She didn't want to die. She wanted to live well for herself and for that man before she saw her beloved. She didn't want to waste time on anything else. Long Fei exhaled, and said, "Phoenix, let's go." Before he could finish, Long Fei's pupils abruptly tightened and his gaze became especially gloomy. Coincidentally, Liu Luoshi saw the look in Long Fei's eyes, the kind of look. She had a sense of déjà vu, like an extremely important person threatened. And then, she also looked at Phoenix, her expression changing as the aura around her turned malevolent. At this moment, a person stood behind Phoenix. It could also be said that there were 8 people. It was the ghost general, half hidden, who had just been injured by Liu Luoshi. It was eerie. A cold laugh was revealed. Long Fei took a step forward. Before his foot could land on the ground, the ghost general placed a hand on Phoenix's shoulder and said softly, "If any of you dares to take a step forward, she will immediately die." At this moment, Phoenix felt the presence of someone behind her. She tilted her head and looked at the ghost general. She was not afraid in the slightest as she said, "I will not die." Long Fei said, "Let her go, I guarantee that nothing will happen to you." "Ha ha ha. Let her go. Are you kidding? Or you don't even know what she is. Ha ha ha." The ghost general smiled excitedly. "Master has been wanting the holy blood all his life. Today, not waiting for him to finish. Long Fei's chi suddenly surged. Ancient dragon body, release all your firepower. Rumble. Long Fei released a roar from his body. He lowered his body and leaned forward. Boom. In the blink of an eye, it vanished and its two fists charged forward with explosive speed. The dragon's roar shook. The pressure was like the heavens. The entire Nantian city began to shake violently. It wouldn't matter even if he chopped at Long Fei, but he absolutely could not touch the family by his side. He did not know Phoenix's identity. However, from the moment he saw her, Long Fei felt that he owed her from his previous life. He felt that she was someone he had to protect. Now that she saw that she was being threatened by the Ghost General, then, he couldn't control himself at all. And at this moment, the shadow behind the Ghost General continued to charge forward, meeting Long Fei head-on. Bam! With a punch, a Ghost General was immediately blasted into smithereens. Boom! Boom! After continuously attacking, 7 Ghost Generals were consecutively turned to dust by Long Fei's fist, as his entire body also went berserk. However, the moment he rushed over, the Ghost General smiled sinisterly and disappeared with Phoenix. The Ghost General disappeared with Phoenix. The Ghost General disappeared with Phoenix. Long Fei missed his target, and his eyes turned into dragon pupils as he became completely furious. The idea moved. Feeling the direction the Ghost General disappeared in, his body rose up from the ground and flew out with a single step. Boom! The ground exploded. The shock even stunned Liu Luoshi a little. In that instant, the power Long Fei displayed was too strong. What kind of power was it? The power of an ancient elder? Isn't this kind of sudden change in strength too strong? Logically speaking, this kind of powerful ancient power should have chosen him as an inner court disciple. Why did he fail? Liu Luoshi thought about how Long Fei's ascending dragon had completely blocked her Buddha light sword cheese cross / power, and it had suddenly changed. His strength suddenly increased. This was not a power that could be released by the swordsman rank. Obviously, Long Fei was an ancient energy cultivator. Liu Luoshi looked in the direction that Long Fei had disappeared in, but she did not immediately follow after him. After hesitating for half a minute, Liu Luoshi walked in front of a spirit and asked, "How do I get to that tall building?" Woo ha ha ha. Inborn sacred blood. I never thought that I would meet someone who has innate holy blood in this lifetime. Are you the reincarnation of an Esper from the divine space? Or was it someone who came down from the divine space? Ghost Manor, top floor. The huge hall was like a training hall. Beneath a huge martial character sat a man in black armor with his legs crossed. The man's armor shone with a golden light. 3 katana blades were placed beside him. Black flames burned on the blade like a devil. He looked at the phoenix in the center of the arena, his eyes burning with passion, as if he wanted to eat the phoenix in one bite. Phoenix was very calm. He was surprisingly calm. It was a completely different kind of calmness from her age of 10. If he knew what she had experienced in the past 10 years, this scene would be too child's play for her. Phoenix giggled and said, "Since you know that I'm from the divine space, then you shouldn't have brought me here. Divine space, ancient world's divine world. Ancient clan, the world of the ancient powers. It was also known as the God realm. This was just a mortal world. No one dared to offend the people from the divine space." Black Warrior laughed sinisterly. "The people from the divine space are indeed not to be provoked. That is, to others, I have never been afraid of them. What's more, the fact that you were captured by my Ghost General means that you haven't fully awakened. Your cultivation is too weak, so how can I miss a super great tonic like you? As long as I consume your sacred blood, I will be qualified to enter the divine space." Ha ha ha. The divine space is the goal that I have been striving for this entire life. As long as one consumed the holy blood of the energy users in the divine space, they would be able to obtain an extremely strong power, and would also be able to obtain a replacement. Substitute the powerhouse and upgrade to the divine space. The people of the mortal world revered the powerhouse of the divine space. At the same time, There were many people who coveted the sacred blood in the bodies of those who were capable of doing so. A real ancient world. A smile still hung on Phoenix's face as she asked, "Do you think you can obtain the holy blood in my body? Even if I don't agree, my husband will not agree." Black Warrior asked, "Your husband? That crazy man from before? Him? Ha ha ha. Then you don't know what kind of place this is, but this is the Ghost Tower. No one who enters this place will be able to leave alive. Do you know why this place has become a dead city? Because they all died here. Even if your ancient antiquities elders were to come, they wouldn't be able to charge in here, much less a waste disciple with only the swordsman rank." While he was speaking, rumble. A loud explosion resounded. The explosive sound was filled with power. Black Warrior tensed up and asked, "What is that sound?" A ghost general hurriedly walked in and said, "Sir, something bad happened. Someone broke into the ghost tower and continued to rush upwards. Our people couldn't hold him off at all." Phoenix giggled and said, "Look, my husband is here. Not to mention the ghost tower, even the 18 levels of hell wouldn't be able to stop him." Black Warrior's gaze tensed up and said solemnly, "Can't stop him? Then you don't know our strength." Then, Black Warrior frowned. He formed a seal with one hand and muttered to himself, "The power of ghosts and devils, transform into infinity." Buzz. The black flames on his body soared into the sky. It directly wrapped itself around the ghost tower. The entire ghost tower shook. It was as if the ghost generals in the ghost tower had been injected with chicken blood in an instant, and their strength instantly increased by several times. Moreover, they were all in a state of rage. There was no fear. He unceasingly rushed towards Long Fei. However, there was no point in increasing their strength at all. Amidst Long Fei's berserk mode, the power of the ancient dragon body exploded to the limit that he could currently unleash. This kind of power was able to shatter even the illusory image of the outer space powerhouse, so those two outer space powerhouse were people from the divine space. How could this kind of ghost general be able to stop Long Fei? Bam! Bam! Bang! 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 One after the other, they were all smashed to smithereens. It could be said, it was as if he would turn into ashes the moment he came into contact with Long Fei. It wasn't because of his power, but because of the dragon's might that was being emitted from his body. It directly crushed the ghost general. Boom! 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 Starting from the first floor, Long Fei went from the first floor to the first floor in a second. His figure was like a ray of red light as he instantly charged to the top. "I can't block it. My lord. We can't stop them at all. It's here, it's here. He's coming." The ghost generals panicked and squeezed into the training hall. Black Warrior's forehead turned sinister. Phoenix giggled and said, "I say, you guys can't stop my husband, right? He's the strongest man in the world, heh?" She had never worried. He had never been disappointed in Long Fei either. From the first time she saw Long Fei, she felt that Long Fei was very special. It was as if she was destined to be someone. However, she still had to ask her aunt whether she was destined to be a person or not. Only her aunt knew. Black flames burned out of Black Warrior's eyes as he looked at Phoenix, and said solemnly, "Even if he's powerful, you're in my hands right now. I'll suck your holy blood dry first." Phoenix was stunned for a moment. Black Warrior did not want to miss this chance. This might be the only chance for him to enter the divine space. He had originally wanted to enjoy it, but now he didn't have the time. The ghost tower was about to explode. Immediately, Black Warrior suddenly stood up. Boom! The black flames covered the entire training hall. He turned around and heavily pounced at Phoenix. Phoenix muttered, "Now that I'm in danger, am I able to unleash my powers?" Phoenix was never afraid. Phoenix was never afraid. Because there was nothing that could frighten her other than the departure of her family. Overbearing strength. Non-existent. She was well aware of her own strength. The pupils in his eyes changed to an azure color. Rainbow-colored feathers grew out from his forehead. He released his aura. As if they were about to spread their wings, the surrounding group of people were instantly blasted away. It was also at this time. Black Warrior rolled down and let out a creepy excited laugh. Ha ha ha. They really are people from the divine space. I want your holy blood. Ha ha ha. Rumble. The gigantic black flames crushed towards the phoenix. But, at this moment, Shua, a figure suddenly attacked. He landed in front of Phoenix and said with a deep voice, "Withdraw your strength." Phoenix muttered, "Oh, the one who came was Long Fei." Feeling the strong energy fluctuations from the ghost tower, he did not have any chance to stay and directly rushed to this place. Seeing that Phoenix was about to erupt with her strength, his heart sank. Stop it immediately. The strength of the black-clothed man was greater than all the powerhouse in the mortal world. Long Fei still could not forget the fierce battle that happened in the air and the powerful competition between their strengths. He didn't even know if his own ancient dragon body would be able to compete with it. The only thing he could do was to make Phoenix hide as much as possible before he could become a powerhouse. Heh! Another person who possesses a special blood vein? Perfect. Then let's eat it together. The Black Warrior let out a furious roar, and a powerful force fell down heavily. Under the black flames, Long Fei raised his eyes slightly. You overestimate yourself. He stretched out his right hand, pulled it out of the ground and inserted it into the black flames. And at this moment, before the Black Warrior could react, Long Fei's body fell and smashed the ground heavily with his fists. Poochie. Rumble. The ground was cracked, and the entire ghost tower was shaking. The armor on Black Warrior's body completely shattered, revealing his true appearance. An incomparably skinny dwarf, with an incomparably wretched appearance. There was a white cloth tied around his crotch. Although Long Fei did not know this name, he had seen it a lot in movies from his previous life. Little Japan? UF** King dare to be so arrogant in this alternate world? F***ck. Long Fei's anger rose, and he lifted him up into the air, then said, F***ck, you can also come to a different world. With his neck being grabbed by Long Fei, Black Warrior's face was pale. He glared at Long Fei and said, Kid, do you know who I am? If you dare kill me, my father will not spare you. Long Fei was startled. Damn, you even have a father. Are you guys from Earth? Black Warrior shivered and said, Earth? What kind of place is the Earth? I only know that my hometown is the East Ocean. The East Ocean? F***ck. It's really Little Japan. Long Fei's eyes were brimming with anger. His body trembled as he said, You can't kill me, my father won't forgive you. My father is the East Ghost King, if you dare kill me, he. Not waiting for him to finish, Long Fei grabbed him by the throat and smashed him hard onto the ground. Bam! The ghost tower shook. Long Fei was lifted up again, and smashed down once more. Bam! The ghost tower shook and was about to collapse. Took it up. Smashing again, bang, bang, bang. Moreover, after one strike, the bloody wound on the top of Black Warrior's head returned to 0. However, Long Fei did not stop. How could he vent his hatred if he did not burn his bones and scatter his ashes? Don't even mention that your father is the Ghost King. Even if your father is the Celestial Emperor, if he dares to appear, your father will still kill him into the sky. Boom! He hit the ground heavily. The short and small Black Warrior's entire body split open, all of his tendons and veins broke, his bones stabbed out of his body, his head exploded, and he died in an extremely miserable state. Bah! You old bitch! Long Fei gave a harsh laugh, and said, Did you also cultivate to fly up to this place? Long Fei thought of the Yuantia realm elder. He was also a character from the Legends of Earth and had appeared in this world. Naturally, the powerhouse of the island nation could as well. Holy **t. Thinking of this, Long Fei couldn't help but become angry. System, when are you going to bring me back to Earth? Phoenix giggled and said, Hubby, I knew you would hurry over. Long Fei rolled his eyes at Phoenix and said, How many times have I told you this? I told you not to use your own strength. Could you listen to me? Phoenix lowered her head like a child who had done something wrong and was fiddling with her clothes. Long Fei patted her head and said, All right, The words that I had just said were too heavy. I was just worried that. Phoenix said, I know, that Master Xian was killed because of my exposed whereabouts. It was all because of me, this troublemaker. Then he began to sob softly. Seeing the phoenix's cry, Long Fei panicked and repeatedly said, It's my fault, it's my fault. I shouldn't have criticized you so harshly. Phoenix saw Long Fei's frantic state, and suddenly giggled. Ha ha ha, have you been tricked by me? Heh. Long Fei was startled, then looked at the phoenix's giggling appearance and said, Little trick. Phoenix giggled. There were tears in her eyes. Long Fei knew that she really blamed herself when she thought about Master Xian's death. I need to become stronger as soon as possible. Long Fei secretly clenched his fists, and the profound spirit qi on his body became heavy. The time had come for the ancient dragon body to be overdrawn. His gaze swept across the ghost generals in the training hall. Damn it, all of you will die here. His aura stirred. Spreading out, he clenched his right fist. Explode. All the ghosts would be reduced to fine powder. Not a single one remained. Huff. Long Fei let out a heavy breath. After the power of the ancient dragon body ended, he felt his body becoming incomparably heavy. He was incomparably weak right now. It was also at this time. Liu Luoshi ran in, just in time to see the scene of the ghost generals each turning into powder. He was shocked by Long Fei once again. He was shocked by Long Fei once again. Liu Luoshi stood there in a daze for a long time, unable to say a word. Long Fei also noticed her. He didn't expect that she would still come. He was secretly relieved. At least. Liu Luoshi's heart was still kind. It's gone, what's there to look at? This building is about to collapse. Long Fei pulled Phoenix and walked to Liu Luoshi's side, reminding him. Liu Luoshi recovered and said, Eh? Oh. He hastily followed, Are you a talented person? Long Fei replied, I don't know. Ancient dragon body was an ancient inherent skill. He didn't know. Liu Luoshi said, Why haven't you been selected to enter the inner sect? The power that you exploded forth earlier was something that even an ordinary sword saint powerhouse could not resist, yet you are only at the swordsman rank now? This is simply too inconceivable. Long Fei said, If I don't enter the inner sect, perhaps it is because my talent is not good enough. Ha ha. Long Fei laughed dryly. Every sect had a dark side to them, and it just so happened that he encountered one. However, it didn't matter. The more difficult it was, the more determined he would be. This was Long Fei. Regardless of the unfair treatment, plots, or obstacles, he would be able to walk more steadily. Step by step, he would sweep away everything in his path. Liu Luoshi paused for a while, and then said, This mission is back. After thinking for a moment, Liu Luoshi decided not to say it out loud. She wanted to bring Long Fei into the inner sect. She wanted to say a few words to recommend him to the elder, but she stopped herself just as the words came out of her mouth, because she suddenly discovered that this man in front of her was especially passionate. And a lot more. It was as if he couldn't control himself. This confused her very much. In the entire sect, there were very few people who could say 3 words, but now, she was a little lost. This feeling. It was as if he was in the gods' martial continent. It was like seeing that man for the first time. There was no estrangement between him and the man in front of him. It was as if they were very familiar with each other. Liu Luoshi couldn't control this feeling either. Phoenix let out a laugh and said, Beautiful big sister, what are you going to do after returning? Are you going to marry my husband? Since my husband is so handsome, he should marry a few more wives. Rest assured, I'll let you grow up, There was no end to it. Long Fei glared at Phoenix, and said faintly, Children's words, don't take it seriously. Phoenix stuck out her tongue playfully. Liu Luoshi's cheeks flushed slightly, and disappeared in an instant. Her gaze turned ice-cold once more. She would only be moved by one man for her entire life. Not for a second man. She was waiting. Waiting for the man who had fought for her. The 3 of them walked out of the ghost tower. Just as Long Fei had said, A few minutes later, the ghost tower collapsed and turned into a pile of ruins. And just as Long Fei walked out of the ghost tower, the surrounding area was filled with ghosts, all of them kneeling on the ground with eyes full of gratitude. Long Fei did not understand. They clearly hadn't changed. What was there to be grateful for? They had asked him to come to the ghost tower, but now that the ghost tower had been destroyed, he didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Wait. Long Fei's heart trembled. What exploded just now? When that dwarf, the son of the East Ghost King, died, a system notification rang out. It was just that Long Fei did not listen carefully. He was in that state known as the ancient dragon body. Under the ancient dragon body, Long Fei did not care about all this. The idea started to open the system to check one thing. Soul-sealing jade. Could it be that the souls of the people in Nantian City are locked inside this jade pendant? Long Fei's heart trembled. He took out the soul-locking jade and asked, "All of your souls were sucked into this?" When the spirits saw Long Fei take out the soul-sealing jade, they were all trembling in fear. To these ghosts, the soul-sealing jade was a great killing tool. "Looks like it." Long Fei asked, "How do I release your souls? Can I smash it?" Those ghosts all frantically nodded, afraid that Long Fei would not be able to see them. There were at least 1,000,000 ghosts here. This soul-sealing jade was the key to controlling them. If they were to break it, it would grant them freedom. If they didn't shatter, it meant that these people could be ordered around by him. Long Fei pondered for a few seconds. He slammed the soul-sealing jade into the ground. Crash! The soul-locking jade shattered into pieces. The spirits inside were released into the air, like the light of souls. The spirits were all boiling. Feeling the return of their souls, some ghosts began to let out sounds. "Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, my lord. Thank you." Everyone said thank you. When their souls returned, their ghosts became a bit more corporeal, but it was still illusory. This was because they were already dead, leaving behind only their souls. Long Fei said, "You don't have to be so polite. Even without you guys, I would still do the same to this bunch of little Japan." He didn't have a chance in his previous life. If he saw these bastards of the pirates not killing them, would he be able to repay his ancestors? At this time, a white-haired old man walked forward with a face full of excitement. "Thank you, sir, for helping us find our soul. You are the benefactor of our Nantian city." "Thank you." Long Fei said, "Old sir, there is no need to be courteous." The white-haired old man said, "For so many years, our souls have been suffering, and we have been begging for help from the people who came to the Nantian city. To them, we are monsters. Those who enter the city kill as soon as they see us. They don't give us any chance to speak. Only you." The old man's words were very serious. Liu Luoxi's expression changed slightly. She was just like the old man had said. Every time he entered the Nantian city, he would start killing without caring about all that. This was the Nantian city, only a road that had to be traversed. Who would care what happened here before? Every single one of them had come here for the purpose of passing through the South Heaven Gate. Long Fei said, "Old sir, you are too kind." "No, no, no." The old man quickly said, "You have released our souls, you are our benefactor, so." "You hear?" Long Fei was a little excited in his heart. He pretended to be very calm on the surface, as if everything was something that he should do, as if he didn't want anything in return, but his heart was excited. Following the flow of the game's script, if Long Fei helped this group of NPCs, they would definitely repay him. This was inevitable. Just like completing a mission to receive a reward. The only difference was that there was no mission here. The elder turned around and looked at the few elders behind him. The old men nodded. The old man's eyes were firm. "Elder, this is our reward for you." Finished. A purple gold box appeared in the white-haired elder's hand. It was extremely ancient, and the patterns on it were not ordinary patterns, but rather symbols. He passed 2 hands to Long Fei. At this time, Long Fei was no longer bashful and directly took it in his heart. This thing should be very powerful. Long Fei could not wait any longer. Long Fei could not wait any longer. He wanted to know what was in the purple gold box. He carefully opened the box. What surprised him was that there was no gorgeous light coming out of the box. It was very plain, so dull that Long Fei was a little confused. A rock. Just an ordinary stone. Liu Luoshi stretched out his neck to take a look, and could not help but laugh. Stone? Phoenix was also startled. She stood up and looked at the contents of the box with her tiptoes. At first glance, she was just as surprised as Liu Luoshi. However, when she took a closer look, her pupils suddenly constricted. Also at this time, Long Fei opened up the system and used the system to check its properties, because he knew that it was impossible to obtain a rock with so much effort. Indeed. What the F***K? Repression of boundary stones fragment. Item, repression of boundary stones fragment attribute, unknown description, fragments thrown out by the repression of boundary stones during its suppression. It's actually a repression of boundary stones. Long Fei never thought that there would actually be a repression of boundary stones here. He also had a repression of boundary stones on him. It was much bigger than this piece of debris. According to the Black and White brothers, Ancient World's #1 powerhouse was suppressed by the repression of boundary stones. Just how powerful was the repression of boundary stones? Long Fei didn't quite understand. But to be able to suppress the first powerhouse, its strength must be extraordinary. At the same time, Phoenix's pupils changed. She could also see that there was something special about the stone. She was so astonished that she wanted to cry out. Long Fei immediately shook his head slightly. Phoenix stared blankly for a moment and then did not utter a word. She immediately sound transmitted, "Hubby, this stone seems to be a repression of boundary stones. It is a heavenly stone. Why would there be repression of boundary stones here? Isn't the repression of boundary stones the body of the #1 ancient powerhouse that was suppressed in some kind of abyss? Could it be that there are a lot of repression of boundary stones?" Phoenix was also puzzled. However, even a 3-year-old child knew about repression of boundary stones in the world of divine space. The cosmic Hades. Possessing an unstoppable power. It exists as unsolvable as a bug. At that time, the #1 powerhouse of the ancient times could be said to be an existence that disregarded everything, and not a single person in the ancient world was his match. However, a rock was pressed down, and he didn't even have a temper. He was instantly suppressed. Long Fei replied, "I'm not sure, but the matter regarding this stone definitely cannot be spread out." Phoenix nodded her head, and said, I know. There are many powerhouse in the divine space that are looking for repression of boundary stones. Rumor has it that there is a super treasure on the repression of boundary stones. Whoever can obtain it can dominate the entire ancient world." And then, Phoenix curiously asked, "Hubby, how did you recognize him as a repression of boundary stones?" Long Fei, Phoenix giggled and said, "I know, you are definitely from the divine space, right? I knew it. How could I not have good eyes? The man I like must be the most awesome in the world." Long Fei. He was a bit speechless, but that was fine too, since he didn't have to explain anything. Long Fei kept the box and asked, "Old sir, where did you get this stone?" The old man said, "I have to start from a very long time ago. It is my grandfather's 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 grandfather. It should be my ancestor who picked it up deep in the mountains. This rock is very special, especially I don't know where it is, but take it out." The demon beast did not dare to approach him. "Is the item bad?" Long Fei shook his head and said, "No." Liu Luoshi thought that Long Fei did not want to disappoint the old man, so he accepted it. Long Fei thought, "Looks like this repression of boundary stones fragment really shot here from somewhere." Looking at Long Fei, who was deep in thought, Liu Luoshi asked, "Old sir, do you know that if you pass through the South Heaven Gate?" South Heaven Gate. When these 3 words were spoken, almost all the spirits began to tremble violently. Their eyes were filled with incomparable fear. Long Fei also looked at the old man, and said, "The reason we came here today is to pass through the South Heaven Gate. South Heaven Gate is too dangerous. You guys can't even pass it. Listen to my advice. Do not go to the South Heaven Gate. Even if you pass through the South Heaven Gate, it will be useless. No one has ever come out alive. The old man said sincerely. Long Fei's brows tightened, and said, Old sir, is there nothing you can do? There was no way. If this was a quest, then these ghosts were its key point. The elder pondered for a moment before saying, If you must fly, you must pass through the South Heaven Gate. You must take the most dangerous path. The most dangerous, Dao? What do you mean? Long Fei was a little confused. Liu Luoshi also asked, What is the most dangerous path? The elder said lightly, You will have to choose your own path before entering the South Heaven Gate. The most dangerous path is the South Heaven Gate. Our ancestors once said that South Heaven Gate is the door to baptism. All preparations must be made before passing, and all trials must be carried out. At the same time, it is also a way to ascend to the immortal realm. Legend has it that anyone who passes through the South Heaven Gate will be placed in the immortal class and enter the heavenly court. But this is a narrow escape, you must be careful. Long Fei secretly tensed up. Baptism's door? Ascending to the immortal? The South Heaven Gate is the main gate of the heavenly court in the myths. If you go in there, you won't get any celestial seats, so this place is a little different. Long Fei looked at Liu Luoshi and said, It might be very difficult. Liu Luoshi didn't wait for Long Fei to say the next sentence, and said, I must go. I must complete the mission. Long Fei asked, Isn't it just a mission? Why are you, a girl, trying so hard? Liu Luoshi said, Can't girls go all out? Her heart tightened. For you, forget about my life, I'm not even afraid of soul flying. For more than 100 years, where have you been? Long Fei, where exactly are you? Liu Luoshi would not give up. As long as she completed the South Heaven Gate mission, she would be able to obtain 800 points and could exchange for the Seek Mirror's fist. She would find that man. It had been more than 100 years. She had waited far too long. She was afraid she would go crazy if she didn't know what happened to the man. Seeing her insistence, Long Fei said, It's fine as long as you think about it, there's no need to complete this mission. Liu Luoshi did not speak, and instead walked towards the South Heaven Gate. Phoenix said, Beautiful sister, wait for me. Finished. Phoenix took Long Fei's hand and chased after him. Women. Sigh. I'm afraid only love can make a woman so silly. Long Fei laughed bitterly in his heart. Looking at Liu Luoshi's back figure, Long Fei muttered to himself, I wonder if the person you were waiting for was me? Hee hee. The Nantian city was the only path that led to the South Heaven Gate. There was no way to fly, so he could only pass through. The Nantian city was the only path that led to the South Heaven Gate. There was no way to fly, so he could only pass through. He would encounter many ghosts in the Nantian city. His previous words had always been to kill his way through. However, this time was different. It could be said that the ghosts on both sides of the street were respectfully sending Long Fei off with their gazes. When Long Fei and the other two had completely left the Nantian city, these ghosts also slowly flew up into the air. With their souls back, it was time for them to go to the underworld to register for reincarnation. One by one, they rose up and slowly disappeared. Finally, the entire Nantian city had truly become a dead city. Teleportation array. We've finally arrived. Looking at the distant Nantian city, his eyes narrowed, and the scene of Liu Luoshi protecting Long Fei appeared in his mind. The anger in his heart surged, and he was extremely displeased. Young master, are we really going to enter the Nantian city? I heard that the Nantian city is filled with ghosts and they are extremely powerful. I am worried that. One of the minions started to get scared. After all, this was an outer sect's 3 gods mission. If it wasn't dangerous, why hadn't it been completed in 100 years? God's sword child glared at him fiercely and said, You useless thing, you're already afraid of entering. How are you going to accomplish anything big? This was also the first time he entered the Nantian city. Compared to fear, his heart was more filled with rage. God's sword child spoke in a deep voice, Enter the city. If anyone dares to retreat, don't blame me for being impolite. Let's go, God's sword child shouted as he walked into the city. In another place. Liu Luoshi pointed to a mountain not far away. There were a few coiling dragon columns on the mountaintop, and said, "That is the South Heaven Gate." Long Fei looked over. Behind that mountain was nothingness. There was nothing. It was as if that door was the door to the world. Liu Luoshi looked at Long Fei, and said, "You are in a rush to return right now. Once you step into South Heaven Gate, it will be very difficult for you to come out. I can still deal with it in the Nantian city, inside." Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "Are you worried about me?" Liu Luoshi said coldly, "No, I'm only reminding you that if you go in, you might die. Since you're still alive, you still have a chance to choose. Don't think that just because your talent is strong that you can deal with it. Talent is a type of power and there is a limit to its consumption. Excessive use of it will only cause your talent to undergo an unfavorable development and would not benefit you. Everyone's discipline was the same. Overuse would not strengthen one's innate talent. It would only backfire. Make your talent shrink too much. Inherent skill could only be slowly developed, and it was the same for Long Fei's ancient dragon body. From the moment he entered the ancient world, it looked like his ancient dragon body had not changed, but as his cultivation increased, his ancient dragon body had actually become much stronger. It was just that Long Fei did not feel it. Talent was very important. However, the realm was the number one. Long Fei's cultivation was too low. Long Fei said, "Don't worry, once I enter South Heaven Gate, I will be able to protect myself." Phoenix giggled and said, "Beautiful big sister, don't worry, my husband will definitely protect us, hey." Liu Luoshi did not speak anymore, and directly walked towards the South Heaven Gate. They reached the top of the mountain. The 4 coiling dragon pillars were quite domineering. They were 2 meters in diameter, and a lifelike huge dragon was spiraling upwards with its head staring at the sky. It was as if he was about to ascend into the heavens. Each coiling dragon column was different. Moreover, when he saw these 4 coiling dragon pillars, Long Fei's heart was sorrowful. He didn't know why, but he felt an incomparable sense of familiarity. However, there was no memory of him. Long Fei looked at the coiling dragon pillar in a daze. Phoenix, who was at the side, also muttered, "This should be a place where fishes are leaping and dragons are gathered. As long as we can pass through this place, we can enter the divine space. This should be an ancient era's remnants." Long Fei looked at the phoenix and said, "You sure know quite a lot." However, Long Fei did not think about all this. He was thinking that his 8 King Kong was one of the 8 great heaven pillars of the ancient world, and had already awakened a few. Phoenix giggled and said, "Hubby, did you forget that I have a treasure detector? All 4 heaven pillar are divine objects, but no one can move them." Divine object. Long Fei looked at it carefully. Indeed, this coiling dragon pillar was very tyrannical, but it was so huge, who could use it? Liu Luoshi said, 4 pillars, split into 3 doors. The first 3 times I chose a different door, and the world inside was also different each time. Long Fei asked, "Which sect's world is the hardest?" Liu Luoshi looked at the door on the left, and said, "The left door, the world inside it is a world of thorns, it can be said to be difficult to move an inch. The door in the middle is the demon beast world, it is filled with monsters. The moment you step in, it will immediately be filled with waves. The world in the right gate is about the same. Every step you take can lead to a cliff, or even a grave. 3 doors are all dangerous, but if we were to talk about which door is the most dangerous, then it must belong to the middle group. The demon beast that fill the entire world, every single one of them is going crazy and it is impossible to defend against them. I asked Master. Master said that there are no shortcuts in these 3 gates. Long Fei's mind flew. The ghost old man said that I must choose the most dangerous door. But every door is dangerous. Is that the door that is dangerous? In the thorny world on the left, every step along the path of training is hard to take. Demon beast, kill, kill. Killing intent can be found everywhere on the path of cultivation. The right door should also be called the door of enticement. It's also called the door of enticement. One can't resist all sorts of enticements. 3 gates. 3 different worlds. The 3 fans gate are all extremely dangerous. I can't tell if it's more dangerous there or not. Long Fei looked at Liu Luoshi and asked, when did you enter? Liu Luoshi said, it's about the same, I'll be forced out in 3 minutes. Long Fei frowned. Unable to compare. The most dangerous Dao. What is the most dangerous Dao? Damn, why don't you make it clear? Long Fei's brain was not strong enough. The ghost old man had said before that only by walking the most dangerous path could one pass through the South Heaven Gate. If the world inside all 3 doors was dangerous, what was the most dangerous thing behind that door? Liu Luoshi looked at Long Fei and said, why don't we go to the center, where there are the most demon beast? Long Fei shook his head and said, it's not that simple. The information provided by the ghost elder is definitely useful. To choose the most dangerous path of cultivation. The most dangerous Dao. Everyone's Dao was different. Suddenly, Long Fei's pupils tightened, and said, I understand. So that's what he meant. And then, Long Fei looked at the Phoenix and said, Phoenix, this time you're going to make a move too. Phoenix shivered and immediately became excited. Millimeter, millimeter. Phoenix jumped in joy. Phoenix jumped in joy. Liu Luoshi looked at Long Fei and said, she's still a child, what do you want her to do? Do you have any sympathy? To think that she was so good to you. To think that she was so good to you. Long Fei was stunned by what he had said. Phoenix said, elder sister, I'm very strong. Liu Luoshi said, no matter how strong you are still a child. This kind of thing cannot let you take the risk. Long Fei said, don't worry, I know what to do. Actually, the 3 fans gate. Without the most dangerous door, the level of danger would be the same. But all 3 of us must enter the 3 fans gate at the same time. Everyone's path is different. All 3 of us must enter the 3 fans gate at the same time. Liu Luoshi said, it's the same if we enter at the same time, we cannot let her be in danger. Phoenix replied, I won't be in any danger. Everyone's Dao was different. On the way to cultivation, you could encounter all kinds of bottlenecks, thorns, temptations, and slaughter. This was something one would encounter on the path of cultivation. He had to face it at the same time. However, how could a person enter 3 doors? Of course not. Here is the team, only those who were on the path of cultivation would be able to do so. Didn't know what the design of the South Heaven Gate meant, but he guessed correctly. Cultivating was already very boring and, if he could have a few more brothers, a few more friends, and enjoy the fun of cultivation, it would be a wonderful thing in life. Liu Luoshi still didn't agree. She did not want to take Phoenix's life as a joke. Long Fei had no other choice, and said, I'm just asking you, do you wish to complete the mission? Liu Luoshi said, I think, I won't use your method. Long Fei said, I really admire you, so what if I have this kind of method? At least it's better than if you didn't have the brains to randomly choose, right? Big-chested and brainless, he's talking about people like you. Liu Luoshi was furious, he stared straight at Long Fei and said, I what? Am I wrong? Didn't you complete your mission to find a man? Is it worth it? Is it worth it for you to risk your life like this? Did you ever wonder what he was doing when you were fighting for him? He might be having fun, hugging left and right, or he might have already died and turned into a pile of mud. Is it worth it? Long Fei said fiercely. Liu Luoshi stared intently at Long Fei. She seemed to have no time to think and spoke straightforwardly, it's worth it. Even if he was like what you said, I am worth it. I, Liu Luoshi, have only believed in one man in my entire life. What's 100 years worth? Even if it's 1,000 years or 10,000 years, I will still wait. It's still worth it. Liu Luoshi said in a similarly ruthless tone. Long Fei laughed bitterly, silly woman. At this moment, Phoenix walked to the left door, turned her head to look at Liu Luoshi, and said, beautiful sis, you're willing to risk your life for a man. Although my husband can catch up to you, but your words have touched me, so I should help you even more. Hubby, I'll be going in first. Bam! Phoenix stepped through the door. Liu Luoshi wanted to shout to stop, but it was too late. It was also at this time. Long Fei walked to the big door in the middle and said, "I will grant your wish. Whether you enter or not is your problem." Bam! Long Fei also stepped inside. He didn't want to argue with Liu Luoshi anymore. He was even envious of the man that Liu Luoshi was talking about. He walked through the door. Liu Luoshi's expression changed. He looked at the two of them, then looked at the door on the right, and at this moment, she did not think too much and quickly rushed in. She was waiting for someone. But it didn't hurt. Every day she imagined the moment he'd met her. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, no matter if you still love me or not, I'll wait for you. Liu Luoshi rushed through the door. Buzz. A buzz. The 4 coiling dragon pillars suddenly shook. Next, the 4 coiling dragon pillars fiercely collided with each other. It formed a door. 2 big words appeared on top of the door frame: South Heaven Gate. This was the first time the South Heaven Gate had appeared. In the real sense of the word. In the past, everyone who came to this place would enter through a door. No matter how many people came, they would enter through the same door. He would only face one kind of test. The 3 of them entered, and the world changed. Hubby. Hee. You're really too smart. When Phoenix saw Long Fei, she immediately ran over and threw herself onto Long Fei's body, her legs wrapped around Long Fei's waist and her entire face full of smiles. On the other side, Liu Luoshi also appeared. The moment she saw Long Fei, her heart also sunk. She looked at her own chest and said, "Am I really brainless with a big chest?" Long Fei said, "With me here, you don't need to bring brain. All right, let's go to the front and take a look." The world was very special, especially because there were no thorns that filled the world, no demon beast, and no desperate situations. There was only a flat road. The main road led to a temple. Not long after, the 3 of them stood in front of the temple. It could be said that it was a temple, or it could be said that it was a massive magic cube, with no way to enter. Liu Luoshi looked at Long Fei and said, "Weren't you stupid? What do we do now?" Long Fei looked at the entrance of the sacred hall and thought to himself, "Could it be that my choice was wrong? The great Tao without a door?" He glanced back at the road behind him. A great Tao. What did this mean? The great Tao. Cultivation path? Great Tao without a door? F***ck. It's impossible for Laozi's road to be devoid of doors. Even if it doesn't have a door, I can still carve one out. Long Fei circled around the sacred hall. Every piece is different. Do you want to put them together neatly? Long Fei indicated and it turned. It really is the magic cube. The ancient world has a magic cube. Universe magic cube. Fuck, don't tell me there's also an or inside. Ever since Long Fei had obtained the Spirit Source Stone, he had been a little possessed by the Women's Union 3. Right now, he just wanted to collect all the ores and snap his fingers. Then just 2, 3, 4. Phoenix asked, "Hubby, this seems to mean that there's no door." Liu Luoshi thought to himself as he looked at Long Fei, "No wonder when we look at the road that we have taken, it turns out to be a great road." Long Fei said, "Don't worry, I'm thinking of a way." To put together this massive temple magic cube was not an ordinary feat, because this temple was extremely huge, so much so that even 10 lifetimes wouldn't be enough for him. However, Long Fei was not worried. There was something else in his mind. There was a technological world inside the special amber that he had obtained from the giant anchor. The most important thing was, there was also an advanced computer. Using a computer to calculate it would be faster. Immediately, Long Fei moved. One more, one less. If you don't have enough brains, then use a computer. If you don't have enough brains, then use a computer. There was a supercomputer in the amber space, so he couldn't play games. After opening the amber space, Long Fei said to the Phoenix, "Wait for me here for the 2 of you." He leapt into the air and landed on top of the giant magic cube matrix. Enter the command, begin scanning. The scan begins. Long Fei continuously moved. While he was moving, he constantly scanned the patterns on the magic cube. 1 face, 2 faces, 3 faces, 4 faces, 5 faces. But the 6th face. In other words, beneath the holy hall, there was nothing to be seen. Long Fei frowned. Damn, this is going to be tough. The magic cube had 6 sides. The front, the bottom, the front, the back, and even the left and right sides. Each side had hundreds of boxes with inscription on them. This is going to be difficult. Long Fei finished scanning all 5 faces and dropped them. Phoenix looked at the secret lock between Long Fei's brows and asked, "What's wrong?" Liu Luoshi also looked at Long Fei. "Is there anything that I can help you with?" Long Fei did not speak. There was no way the two of them could help. He entered the amber space and looked at the 6 faces that appeared on the computer. He said, "This should be a supercomputer with 5 faces. Can you deduce the 6th face? If the wise Loli is here, she would definitely be able to." Knowing that the upper half of the immortal Taoist scriptures S, he had immediately deduced the lower half. But Long Fei glanced at System Girl. She was still in deep sleep. For the time being, he wouldn't be able to wake up. "It's up to you." Long Fei typed in a string of instructions into the computer. The supercomputer began to deduce. At the same time, Long Fei said to Phoenix Liu Luoshi, "Now, all of you, listen to my orders. Remember one thing, do not make any mistakes, or else all of your previous efforts will be wasted. Whatever I say, just do it. Don't ask me that much." Phoenix nodded. All right. Although Liu Luoshi did not know what Long Fei wanted to do, in this kind of situation, she could only listen to Long Fei. "All right." Long Fei replied heavily, and said, "All right, it's starting. Bing Bing, you go to the temple. Senior sister, you will be in charge of the rear and the right while I will be in charge of the front and the left. Right now." Long Fei explained the order of the boxes. The computer began to calculate, and Long Fei immediately shouted out, "Top, 5th row, push left 3 columns, turn. Bing Bing, don't make any mistakes. We only have one chance." I know." The Phoenix did as Long Fei commanded. It pushed the grids open, and the sacred hall started to spin, letting out a crackling sound. It was like a large machine was operating. "Senior sister, 13th row, push to the right a bit, turn." Hearing Long Fei's words, Liu Luoshi immediately did as he was told and pushed himself onto the platform, where a cracking sound could be heard. "Back there, 10th row, 1st row, 2 slots up. Turn. Up ahead. Up there." Long Fei's consciousness kept changing, as he entered the amber space and returned to reality. This would quickly tire a person's mental energy. Long Fei persisted. 1 hour later. Catcher, catcher. Rumble, rumble. Within the magic cube matrix, there was an even more violent explosion. Light constantly burst out from the gaps in the square, as if it were about to explode. "It's the last one." Long Fei swallowed hard. "Whether I fail or succeed, I'll just watch for a bit." After all, he only knew 5 aspects. If one side was missing, it would be extremely difficult to piece them together completely. Not to mention a human, even a god wouldn't be able to do it that easily. Huff, huff. Long Fei let out a heavy breath, grabbed onto a row of grids and turned with it heavily. 1 grimoire, 2 grids, 3 grids. Stop. He pressed down with both hands. Buzz. The magic cube matrix emitted a loud sound. The light was boundless. Phoenix and Liu Luoshi retreated back to Long Fei's side, watching the scene before them. Both of them were stunned. What's inside? Just what is this thing? I've never seen one before. Liu Luoshi muttered. No wonder Master said that no one could complete this mission. This is too difficult, right? She turned her face to look at Long Fei. Long Fei looked at the magic cube matrix with a serious face. Very handsome. A serious man is the most handsome. In that instant, Liu Luoshi was almost captivated by Long Fei. Very obsessed. Just like a little girl. No matter whether it was Long Fei's serious look or that resolute handsome face, he was emitting that special aura. It was intoxicating. It was as if he was born with a strong attraction for girls. It was exciting. However, a second later, Liu Luoxi regained her composure. No matter how handsome and powerful the man in front of her was, her heart would not waver. Because her heart belonged to that man. Rumble. With an explosive sound, the magic cube matrix began to rapidly shrink. Long Fei's eyes flashed with excitement as he said, "Yes, it's the right bet, ha ha ha." Seeing this result, he knew that his calculations were correct. The massive magic cube began to shrink rapidly, unceasingly compressing, before finally turning into a fist-sized sparkling and translucent little magic cube. Long Fei's eyes started to tremble. Spatial ore? Is it a spatial rocks? Wow! Long Fei heavily swallowed his saliva. His heart started to surge, and he was completely unable to control his excitement. He had the soul rocks in his hands. The space rocks were within this sparkling and translucent magic cube. If he were to obtain more, the scene was so beautiful that even Long Fei did not dare imagine it. Bam! The sparkling and translucent magic cube fell to the ground. The huge temple became the size of a fist. Phoenix and Liu Luoxi were completely shocked, senseless. They had never seen such a thing. What's that? Hubby, what's that? Is that an exit? Liu Luoxi was also excited. If he completed this mission, then he would have points to exchange for Seek Mirror. Long Fei said, "I'm not sure either. You guys don't move first, I'll go take a look first." He walked up carefully. Inwardly praying, he said, space rocks, there must be space rocks inside. That way, I can travel through the entire universe, and I can even return to Earth in an instant. Old Master, please bless me. Long Fei stood in front of the crystal-clear magic cube, and extended his hand out. Suddenly, a beam of black flame suddenly shot out and wrapped around the magic cube. It emitted a ghastly cry, "Boy, thank you. Ha ha ha. He's mine now." Black flames filled the sky, as sinister as a purgatory. Black flames filled the sky, as sinister as a purgatory. The magic cube wrapped around him, and with a fierce suction force, he sucked him into the black flames. Following that, a man wearing the hat of an Eastern Ocean general appeared above the black flame. His entire body was glowing with a golden light and his armor appeared to be extremely black. A long purplish-red blade. Its entire body was enormous, and it looked incomparably domineering. The aura released from his body also possessed an incomparably powerful pressure. Very strong. Awesome. Through the system. Long Fei squinted, with killing intent in his eyes, he shouted, "East Ghost King, stealing from me? Damn you." Long Fei said fiercely, "It has always been I who stole from others, no one has ever dared to steal from me." This was equivalent to killing a boss. Even before they had gotten their hands on the equipment, it had already been snatched away. How could he tolerate this? Furthermore, he was a Japanese devil, which made things even more unbearable for him. East Ghost King sneered, "Lame duck, I'll give you a chance to live, now scram far away from here. Otherwise, I'll let you. Let your ancestors do it." F***CK. Without saying a word, Long Fei roared out, "Ancient dragon body." Boom. The aura around his body abruptly changed as the dragon's might became boundless. He jumped up from the ground and directly jumped onto the head of East Ghost King, and said loudly, "Little Japan, do you think you can put on airs on this daddy's head? Your son is already waiting for you in the underworld, you should also go down." Both fists exploded. Buzz. The power on his fist rumbled like thunder. Super power boxing. The punch landed. East Ghost King never thought that Long Fei, who only had swordsman rank, would suddenly become so fierce, as if he transformed. When he heard that his son had died, he was also furious. Ichiro. Ah! With a furious roar, the black flames erupted like a volcano, directly covering the entire sky. Long Fei's figure was also instantly enveloped by the black flames. "My honey!" Phoenix shouted out anxiously. Liu Luoxi quickly rushed out, and pulled out the sword in his hand, causing all the energy in his body to explode out. Heavenly talisman. A talisman shot out from his left hand. The talisman exploded within the black flames. Liu Luoxi's sword shone with a bright light as it flew into the air and slashed down heavily. Scram! East Ghost King let out a heavy sound as the black flame's power exploded outwards, directly smashing onto Liu Luoshi's body. Liu Luoshi blocked with his long sword, his body was pushed back, straight to the ground. However, she did not stop and rushed forward again. East Ghost King shouted in fury, "All of you, die for me, die together with my son." At this moment, the East Ghost King was like a giant octopus. The black flames were like tentacles that swept across the area. Long Fei, who was wrapped in black flames, was very unhappy. Now, he was still fiercely slapped by the black flame tentacles, making him even more unhappy. It was just that. When his superpower boxing struck the black flames, it was like bombarding a pool of water. The evil attacks cultivated by the East Ghost King were far beyond what his son could compare to. Long Fei's superpower boxing could not harm him at all. However, the superpower boxing, the Berserk Beast Sword technique, was a skill that Long Fei had entered the ancient world to train in. Power of Eternity. Open. The surge of power instantly merged into his right arm. After entering the ancient world, Long Fei had not used the power of eternity at all. The power that came from the only eternal coffin in the universe. A surge of power surged out. Clenching his fists tightly, Long Fei smashed his fist against the black flames, F***CKU. Boom. An earth-shaking punch came crashing down. The black flames shrank rapidly. The expression on the face of the Japanese player's face changed. He could feel the power of eternity within the black flames and his entire body was filled with terror. Your power. What is this power? Annihilate your ancestors' power. Long Fei cursed in rage. His first punch had shattered the black flames, and as he descended, he landed right on top of the little devil's head. Bam! The black armor shattered. The glittering golden armor was immediately blasted into smithereens. Just like that, a god-level armor broke apart. At this moment, a small, naked dwarf ran out from the black armor, holding a spatial spell in his hand. His speed was extremely fast. As expected. What's a son? Your father, must be something too. Trying to run? Do you think you can run away? Boom. Long Fei moved his body, and the aura released from his body was like a huge dragon. With a swing of his dragon tail, Long Fei instantly landed in front of East Ghost King. A fist smashed forward. Bam! East Ghost King was nailed to the ground like a nail, blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth, the pubes was shattered, his tendons and bones were broken, and his entire body was bound up and unable to move. Long Fei said, run for me again? F***CK. East Ghost King pleaded for mercy. Please spare me, my lord, as long as you are willing to let me go once, I am willing to work hard for you. You can only be an animal. Long Fei took a step in front of East Ghost King, could not be bothered to talk nonsense with him, and stomped down heavily with his foot. The East Ghost King let out a howl and said, spare me, I'm begging you, I can bring you into the heavenly court, I can bring you into the ancient world's divine space, I'm begging you, spare my life, I. Crack. His head exploded from being stepped on. Long Fei coldly snorted, this daddy wants you to bring it. I won't leave by myself. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing East Ghost King. Do you wish to absorb its cultivation? What the F***CK are we going to do with it? Long Fei immediately gave up. Even a brainless person would not want the cultivation base of Little Japan. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Spirit of the Ghost King. After pausing for half a moment, the system beep did not make a sound again. Long Fei was a little puzzled. Damn, killing a boss and getting an item? This is too little, isn't it? It's a boss after all. Little Japan, you are too poor. With a look of contempt, Long Fei's right foot chopped down heavily, directly pushing East Ghost King's body down into the ground, while at the same time inspecting the Ghost King's soul. Item, Ghost King's Spirit, upgradable, grade, semigod attribute, evil, spiritual division description. It can absorb the undead of a dead person. It can be used in battle and can only absorb one undead at a time. Is that so? It can absorb a dead person's soul? I can still level up. The items are not bad. Long Fei played with the idea, and suddenly moved it towards the dead East Ghost King. Go ahead and absorb. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining East Ghost King's undead. Do you want to summon them? Yes, sir. The figure of the East Ghost King appeared in front of Long Fei and immediately greeted respectfully, Master. Long Fei grinned. With a flip of his hand, he smashed down with his palm, directly shattering East Ghost King's undead. Awesome. F***CKU. He would not be satisfied if he killed them once without venting his anger. He would not be satisfied if he killed them once without venting his anger. Then kill again. The Ghost King token could absorb the undead and kill them again. This way, the East Ghost King wouldn't even be able to kill ghosts. Completely gone. Scum, you dare to bully my Huaxia? Is this great? Long Fei said fiercely. However, just when Long Fei had killed the undead that he had summoned, a crack had appeared on his Ghost King token. This was because Long Fei had done this in a violation of the rules. Who would kill the undead they summoned? This was extremely harmful to the Ghost King token. That's why there were cracks. However, Long Fei did not care at all. If he could kill another one of the people from the Eastern Ocean continent, not to mention the cracks, even if the entire Ghost King token would be broken, he would not care at all. After finishing the East Ghost King, Long Fei picked up the spatial formula from the ground. The aura of the ancient dragon body retracted. Poochie. His body staggered and he spat out a mouthful of blood. It was almost unbearable. It was as if his body had suddenly become 10,000 times heavier. He plopped down on the ground, his face turning pale in an instant. F***CK. As expected, it's a law of the same plane. I can easily use the power of eternity in universal realm, but in ancient world. Long Fei's heart sank. His cultivation had yet to reach that level of strength. If he used some of his strength, it would only become a burden for him. His body wouldn't be able to withstand it. The explosion of the power of eternity just now had already exceeded the limits of what he could endure. At this moment, Long Fei had already suffered from a very serious internal injury. If it weren't for the fact that his physical body was extremely tough, he would have been crippled by now. My honey, what's wrong? Phoenix quickly ran up, and when she saw Long Fei's pale face, she immediately wanted to take out a pill from the space ring. Long Fei's eyes lightly shook, and said, I'm fine. Liu Luoshi also quickly walked up and took out a spirit pellet. He stuffed it into Long Fei's mouth immediately, regardless of whether Long Fei agreed or not, and said, You're already this injured, and you still say that you're okay? His face was pale, and he lacked spiritual energy. Long Fei's bones seemed like they were about to fall apart. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to take it at all. Long Fei laughed and said, Thank you. Liu Luoshi didn't know why, but the corners of her eyes flashed with tears. She looked at Long Fei and said, Quickly stop talking, take a rest first. Phoenix giggled and said, Beautiful big sister, have you fallen for my husband? Heh. Liu Luoshi's eyes turned cold as he said, No way. Phoenix smiled and said, Don't deny it. It's not like I'm against it. Anyway, my husband is determined to chase after you. Long Fei glared at Phoenix and said, Child, don't speak nonsense. Phoenix stuck out her tongue playfully, chuckled, and said, Beautiful big sister, my honey is handsome, right? I think he is the most handsome, most powerful man in the world. If I were to marry him, I will definitely become the happiest woman in the world. Liu Luoshi smiled, but did not reply. Indeed. The man in front of him was not bad, he was different from the other men in ancient antiquity. But her heart only belonged to that man. Even if that man wasn't in this world, her heart wouldn't waver for any man. Seeing that Liu Luoshi's eyes had turned cold, Long Fei knew that he did not have much hope, and closed his eyes slightly, guiding the spirit energy of the spirit pellet to heal the wound. Phoenix half squatted beside Long Fei, supporting her cheeks. She asked excitedly, So handsome, why is there such a handsome person? He. Liu Luoshi stood up, and looked at the other side with cold eyes. What's going on? Why is there not a single ghost in the Nantian city? Is he trying to trick us? Exactly. This doesn't make sense. For the past 100 years, everyone who returned from the Nantian city said that the Nantian city was in extreme danger, and that all the ghosts in there were dead. Why haven't we seen any of them today? He must be afraid of our god's sword child. Young master is born with an ancient sword soul and has heaven-defying talent. These spirits wouldn't dare to come out. If the young master hadn't come, just the few of us would have already been torn to pieces by the specters. The sound of the horses fawning continued. God's sword child's face was full of pride. At the same time, he also thought that it was because of him. If it wasn't for him, perhaps all the ghosts would have rushed out. The group of people passed through the Nantian city with incomparable ease. God's sword child looked at the 4 coiling dragon pillars in the distance, and asked slightly, "Has junior sister already entered? Didn't they say that there are 3 doors in the South Heaven Gate? Why did it become a door? Damn, they are all liars. Young master, I did not see senior sister Liu. What should we do? I heard that each of the 3 entrances of the coiling dragon pillar are extremely dangerous. They are either filled with thorns, demon beast, or an extremely dangerous place. It's impossible to pass through. Fuck, can these legends still be believed? There's only 1 door, and it's not 3 at all." God's sword child coldly snorted. "With me here, what are you afraid of?" As soon as he finished, immediately, there was another series of flattery. Not long later, the group reached the summit. Looking at the gate formed by the coiling dragon pillars, God's sword child was unperturbed and stepped inside. The minions behind him also carefully walked in with fear on their faces. Everyone went in. The world they entered was the same as Long Fei's. Because Long Fei had already finished arranging the magic cube matrix, which meant that the quest had already been deciphered, and everyone who entered would be here. I told you it was a lie. Where's the danger? Where are the thorns? Where is the demon beast? Where was the despair? This group of idiots are making me afraid to come. I must teach them a good lesson when I get back. It was completely different from the guide. At this time, one of the disciples pointed in the distance and said, "Young master, it's senior sister Liu." God's sword child raised his gaze and looked at Liu Luoshi in the distance. After tidying up his hair and clothes, he walked up with a look of a gentleman. Liu Luoshi also saw God's sword child and the others walk over, and they were looking at Long Fei from the side. Long Fei was still healing. Liu Luoshi frowned. "Junior sister, we meet again so soon." God's sword child walked up and looked at Liu Luoshi with a faint smile on his face. Liu Luoshi took a step forward and coincidentally blocked Long Fei's line of sight, and asked, "Why are you here?" God's sword child said, "I already said that I would help you complete your mission." Liu Luoshi replied, "No need, the mission is already completed." At this moment, one of the lackeys pointed at Long Fei and said, "Young master, that trash seems to be meditating to heal his injuries." Phoenix immediately raged, "My husband is not trash." Liu Luoshi said, "Senior brother, we have already completed the first stage of the mission, there is nothing left here." Completed. The God's sword child's gaze turned sinister as he laughed coldly. Who completed it? The standard for completion is to bring back a square stone. Where is the stone? Hand it over. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,